This is good. This is good stuff for the.
All right, cool. So, all right,
Live.
fun times. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th episode of the second season of Second Sons. As always, I'm Roy Grumpy Gus Rogers, formerly of New York City Meta, currently of my apartment Meta, and King of the Scrubs, crowned a couple weeks ago at the World Championship. All right. So with me today for this episode of Second Sons, I'm actually really excited. So Buzz is actually going to contribute in this our pre-Stolic post-Worlds episode. How are you doing, Buzz? Are you excited for Stolic?
Yes, very excited. Lots of Americans.
Yeah, 20. It was the third. I looked at the list that they published. Like, it's the third biggest country, I think, or fourth biggest country.
Wow.
So, yeah, USA represented this year.
Fourth, I think. I think Sweden is third at 29. So.
All right. And that other voice you just heard was Sid. How are you doing today, Sid?
I'm doing good. I've got a little bit of the post-Worlds malaise. I miss people. I miss playing Thrones. Made worse by the fact that, everyone's going to Stolic. Not everyone, but, a large group of Americans, especially from SoCal. So I'm wishing them well, but also a little bummed that I couldn't go and also play.
I'm with you there. I wish I could have gone to Stolic this year, too. And then, but an American who is going to Stolic, Sandy Barnabas. How are you doing today, Sandy?
Good. Unlike all the other Americans going to Stolic, I'm not currently shopping for my Euro trip.
When's the last time you went shopping?
I actually went shopping to buy some more lights for my apartment. You can see
And this
them in
didn't
the
just involve ordering it from Amazon, like instant delivery in New York City?
No, I ordered them from Best Buy.
All right. And then you walked like down the street to the Best Buy? Oh, man.
Exactly.
Pick up.
21st century life, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we're going to knock out. We have a lot, actually, to accomplish this episode. We're going to talk about worlds. We're going to talk about predictions. We're going to talk about the conclusions that I think everybody on this cast has reached about what should happen to the game after Worlds. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Stolic. So lots going on. But I do want to talk a little bit about the news. So first and foremost, not who the world champion is. We'll get to that in a second. The new cycle begins Okay, we had a debate about this. I would say next week, but my co-hosts believe in 2 weeks. The day of American Thanksgiving, the first chapter pack of the fourth cycle of our game, the Archmaester's Key, drops internationally. But for Americans, it actually means that the on-sale date is not Thanksgiving. It is Friday. I found that out because this pack will be legal at Red Saturday. And so if you are planning to attend Red Saturday, which you should if you can make it, you need to go to the Facebook event and say, hey, I would like a pack. And I will guarantee that the store will have a pack for you. If you don't do that, I cannot guarantee that the store will have a pack for you. So that's a little public service announcement. But it's very exciting. New pack, really going to change the meta up. We're getting a new reset. Please go to our season premiere to listen to us talk about that reset. So we won't sort of have a discussion about that now.
Yeah, also, if you guys need a card from the pack and you don't happen to get a pack and 12 other people bought it, odds are someone can loan you the necessary cards.
Oh, yes, definitely. And so that brings us to the other big news, which is the World Championship. We have a new World Champion. Joe Mirando is no longer the reigning World Champion. All right, and Reinhardt is he's also the European champion right now, the official FFG one, as I understand it. So this has been a really good year for Reinhardt. Congratulations to him. Very well played. Sandy and I listened to the final in the car down to Iowa Worlds. It was a good game. It was nice to see somebody who was playing something a little bit different. A lot of people weren't expecting Target Crossing to dominate like it did going into the meta, into Worlds.
3 in the top 8.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. This was the Worlds of Rush.
I think it's funny that no one saw anything with Target Crossing prior to Worlds. Did it win at any events?
No one was. Yeah, well, didn't it win Euro Nationals, or was that not?
No, it was Target Kraken, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think something else.
Okay.
No. The Euro Continentals was won by Reinhardt, right?
Yeah,
right. But it wasn't
with
playing
the same
the same.
deck.
It was.
Yeah, it was
Was
pretty
the same
sure
deck?
it was the same day.
I thought it was Target Kraken for some reason.
Probably should have been on the radar then.
Evan won something with Target Kraken.
There's just like crossing was everywhere though, right? Like crossing went from barely seen to absolutely everywhere.
Well, I think, and this is a great opportunity to transition to sort of before we do the over-unders, which Sid thankfully compiled for us. I want to talk in general about Worlds, about the meta. And I think there's the big storyline, I guess, is they're two interrelated things, because I think it's a meta that was warped by the success of Crossing was because of the presence of Combo, which is the sort of day one story of Worlds, which I wish I had gotten to experience because I brought a deck to beat Combo, but we'll get to that. Combo was all over day one, mostly because the Wars to Come guys combined with the Gen Con champions Hit Squad from Seattle and Toronto. So a huge number of highly competitive, high-quality players brought Hyper Viper. And then James Booker brought Wonder Woman and sort of slow and steadily chipped away his way into the top four, narrowly dodging the final table. So Combo was story number one. So what do we think sort of about the presence of Combo, which I think on this show, at least I said was a really good deck and you should probably bring it or plan against it. But a lot of commentators while Worlds was going on was saying, why haven't podcasters been telling us why Combo was good and that people should play it? But what do we all think about sort of day one and the presence of Combo in the World's meta?
Go ahead. I know what Sandy's old response would have been to that, but now he's soft, so I don't think it will be. He loves the whole world now.
Garbage.
Now that he's a world champion,
it would have just been it would have been be less awful or be less terrible. But
I mean, the Hyper Viper is a good deck. Like losing to it does not mean you're a bad player. Like it is.
It kind of does.
Does it?
Well, if it gets everything, you don't see your stops.
It's true of any deck, though. Like consistently losing to it means you're a bad player.
Yeah, but it does draw like 45 cards, so like it sees stuff way more often than you're gonna see stuff. Like it's more consistent at that, right? It just digs deeper.
Extremely consistent deck. They Hyper Viper.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
The problem isn't like that you lose to it. The problem is that you didn't plan for it, right?
Yeah.
Like your deck should beat it if it plans for it, but like I feel like for whatever reason on day one, sheer luck of the draw, just no one seemed to plan for it, which was sort of embarrassing for the day one players.
I don't think it's true that no one planned for it. I think no one assumed that there would be like 15 to 20 players playing it. I don't know how many the final total was. Maybe it was more like 10 to 15.
No, but it was about 12 to 15, I think.
Okay, I mean, I thought there'd be a few. I did not assume like two metas would load up on that deck. Because honestly,
so.
their qualification rate wasn't amazing or anything. Like tons of those decks just did not make it. Only a few of them made it, right? So, and they didn't win. What we saw 2 in the top 16, or was it 3?
No,
well, not counting Booker because he did his own thing, right?
He played Wonder Woman, which is just,
right, which is a different combo.
Viper made it to top 16. Was it that many? I don't think any
Hyper Viper made it through. I think the only combo.
Zach did.
Oh, Zach did, yes, and Zach was
one
of the best
Zach
players
was also
playing it.
Undefeated day one. So
yeah, so he was probably one of the better players playing it. Zach's a really fantastic player, so I'm not surprised to see that he was the only breaker. But I mean, the thing is, Hyper Viper was targeted though. Like that's the thing you gotta like. That brings us to the day 2 story, right? Which is Greyjoy Crossing, not Greyjoy Crossing, excuse me, Greyjoy Reigns. Greyjoy Crossing is what I brought and got owned by Greyjoy Reigns on day 2, because my deck loses to Greyjoy Reigns. But I really wish I had played on one.
It loses to Greyjoy Reigns with First Snow, which Europeans play and Americans don't. So womp womp.
Yes, it was a womp womp day for me. But Greyjoy Reigns, which was super present, and it created a really weird 2-day meta that I think ended up being a really horrible mistake. Overall, I think for FFG, because like it just was so much Greyjoy in the second day. Now I do, and that's sort of the I guess third storyline, which is, do we think that people changed their deck, seeing all the combo in day one, seeing the sort of decks that are vulnerable? It wasn't just combo, but many decks that were in day one were vulnerable to Greyjoy, like the Night's Watch decks that like Tomas and British guy Darren brought as well. Like there was a lot of the decks that broke into the graduated cut from day one were vulnerable to Greyjoy, and conveniently enough, there was a lot of Greyjoy. on day 2? Do we think that was just a natural thing? Like for me, I was always going to play my Greyjoy Crossing deck no matter what. Like if I had been in day 1, which I now wish I had been, because I would have played the deck I wanted to play against, which is Hyper Viper, or if I was in day 2. Do we think people changed their deck?
No.
I
No.
don't think so.
No.
I think people edited the deck they brought.
Edit. Some would
Yeah.
maybe edit,
Maybe.
but that's it.
Reinhardt admitted he edited it, didn't he? Was that not him?
I think so.
Like people, like if he edited it, I'm sure other people did. Yeah, apparently a bunch of people said it, according to Tony.
Not all that many are that committed that they edit stuff.
Oh.
There's a lot of really casual players in at Worlds.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true at all. People who travel there travel to compete. They have.
No, that's not true. I mean, there are a lot of more casual people. I mean, I ran into a bunch of people that Worlds was their first tournament.
What?
So, yeah.
Yeah. There was actually a bunch of people from. Do you remember Sam and I think Alyssa from Worlds that also came down to Iowa Worlds?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Nice
I don't know that it was Sam's necessarily first tournament, but it was definitely early in there.
I think it was his wife's first tournament.
Okay,
First, big competitive, like regional and above level tournaments. So highly competitive, I guess you could say tournaments. So. I mean, and there's always people like that. There's always people who, if you like the game and you can afford to go to the World Championship, like it's an open tournament. Why wouldn't you go?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like if you can drive, you can do it affordably. Like just go. I mean, there's no like penalty for doing poorly.
I think it's still a pretty small group, though, right? Maybe.
Yeah. But Worlds was small.
Maybe, yeah, but still, I think maybe 10 people, maybe tops 10 who weren't like regular competitive and really, tooling decks and getting reps. I think it's a small number.
But, so we were talking about. Stay tuned. So you guys are on the side of. I'm actually on the side that I think more people changed their deck or made a final decision about what they wanted to play based on the second day.
Yeah.
Or based on the first day, if they were playing the second day. Like, there's just so much Greyjoy Rain. It's like a disproportionate amount. Like, that's a good deck, but it's not that good. Like, it's good, but it's not like 28% of the people in.
Didn't one of the London guys go like on a tear with that? Like, he went like, I don't know, some ridiculous 20-2 with it or something.
Isian? Bet for Worlds? Yeah, I mean, Isian was tearing up things with that deck, yeah.
So, I mean...
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Sid.
Oh. It's like, did someone just fall off?
Right. Okay. Should we... Worlds...
We can't do the over-unders because Sid just went. So, I guess... So, all right. So, no one cares about that. No one cares about that. All right. So... The graduate, so the top 16, what was the surprises? I mean, do we think Crossing, okay, but here's the better way to put this. Do we think Crossing did well because Crossing is just good? Or do we think Crossing did well at Worlds because of the presence of combo, the outside presence of combo?
Crossing is good. I mean, anything that gets you an extra power just for doing challenges, which you're going to do anyway, is good. I think the downside of Crossing is pretty low. I think the fact that it doesn't kneel your faction card becomes more and more important as we get better cards. And I think people just undervalued it because we haven't, it's not necessarily a super interesting deck to play. Like, you're not trying to figure stuff out with it generally as much as you are with other decks. You just play your game and you win.
It's a very good choice if you're unsure, if you don't need the agenda to have your deck work. It's a perfect thing to just use in order to beat things like combo, because they rely on you being slow.
I mean, if you're not going to see what stops Rush, what cold stops Rush right now, like your usual Night's Watch, Wolfy stuff, right? Like your mid-range super aggro stuff. Anything else?
Definitely mid-range super aggro.
Heavy resets
heavy reset will do it.
Yeah, the Night's Watch.
Night's Watch Wolf. Yeah.
But so we get that those beat it, right? But after day one, it was a pretty safe bet that wasn't going to be the meta.
Unless you're Sam Bratz.
Unless, but
Well-
right, if you're Sam Bratz, you can play whatever the fuck you want into the
Well,
cut,
but
right?
Sam-
That's obvious.
But Sam was also kind of a victim of crossing and a little bit of variance. But Sam brought a combo killer deck that was dire wolves. Like the fact that deck just blew up combo. It's like, oh, you have 3 cards in play. Oh, that's so cute. North remembers. Like, and they're all gone. Like, is such a
That
such
was
a
fun.
brilliant. It's such a brilliant deck. And if you ever saw Sam playing it against Hyper Viper, which I did a couple of times, it was really, really amusing.
Oh, he was giddy. He was giddy
yeah.
while playing.
Well, and he was I forget what the other deck. Oh, he was thinking about playing Hyper Viper or Puppies, and then
Yeah.
everyone in the bar the night before was like, "Sam, you have to play Puppies."
Well,
Like,
they
you
were
just
trying to hand him a Hyper Viper deck. Like, you're undecided, play this. And you could see him like he had the devil and the angel on each shoulder, and he's like, "Ah," and he chose right. I mean, he didn't
did.
win obviously, but he chose wisely.
Serious question. Could anyone... Oh, the other guy who played Target Crossing changed his thing too. Sorry. Could anyone but Sam have played that deck to top 16? Like, in the world?
Yes.
Who else?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who?
it was a good
Yes.
deck.
I want
It's a good
names.
deck. Me.
Kid Seafeld could have.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if Kid could have. That's not Kid's type of deck,
I
is
mean,
it?
yes, you need to be good, but I mean, you don't need to be Sam Bratz good.
For
I
for
could
top
play.
s-
you
for
could
top
play it.
16? Yeah, it's graduated cut maybe.
I think
Like,
you just
top
need to
16.
practice with it. Like, it's not the kind of Stark. It's not a pick up and play Stark deck. It's like you need to get some reps in and understand exactly what its game plan is, because it's not just a direwolf deck, right? That stands the direwolves with Brand. It does that, but it's also about leveraging the North Remembers to get your opponent down to very, very few cards in play, and pulling stuff out of with Flea Bottom and all kinds of stuff. It's a very synergistic sort of deck that uses dire wolves in a really interesting way, but it's not, just play the dire wolves, aggro somebody down kind of deck, which most people who play dire wolves, that's what they're doing, right?
Yeah, but obviously that wouldn't be.
Well, I know, but if you just look at this deck of Thrones DB, see,
Yeah,
top 16 dire wolves deck,
You
it's
see
like,
the pieces. You're like,
oh. So, it's definitely a deck you got to practice with. Someone can just show up at a tournament and not have practiced with it, like, say, like a Lanny Reigns deck and do well. Or Greyjoy Reigns.
Oh, that Lanny Reigns deck. If Sid took that Lanny Reigns deck, Sid would be a national champion. I'm just saying.
World
No,
champion.
I mean-
world champion.
no,
Sid-
Nico played that as well as anyone could have. He just
Ah,
he got hosed by variance in the top 4 game. Like, he was crushing all day.
I don't know.
Like-
We should. The second son should take up a collection for Sid to go to Stalik and play that deck. I got a lot of faith in Sid with that. Not with every deck,
Oh.
but with that.
Oh,
deck.
that deck is my jam. Like, that deck. It's in my boat. Like, I'm legitimately upset that when I saw his deck, because he actually showed it to me before it started. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna play Lanny." I was like, "Oh, me too." And he was like, "What are you gonna play?" I was like, "Oh, Rose." It's not combo though. It's just like kind of a decent guy deck that we put
Mid-range
together
deck.
in SoCal. What's that? Yeah, it's a mid-range deck.
It's the usual Lanny Rose.
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, I'm on Lanny Crossing." And I was like, "Ooh, that's my jam. Let me see." And he showed it to me, and I was like, 3 hear me roars, 3 never bets. Nico, you're my favorite person in the world. I fell in love with him right there. And then he just crushed with it, and all day I'm like, it should have been me. Should have been my deck. Oh well. I wasn't on it though. I wasn't like everyone else. I just kind of was like, well, Valor and all the econ, like, it just doesn't have the same presence. But as a straight rush deck instead of a removal deck like the one that I played back in the day, I mean, it just makes sense, right? Now that you have resets, you don't play to kill, you play for power and just win on turn 2. It's awesome.
I feel like Rush isn't going anywhere. There's too much good Rush. Although, I would pay serious money for Heads on Spikes to go somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Like a certain
Well,
list.
hold on, Sid. We wanted to do the over-unders, but do we have any final sort of general thoughts about the World's meta? I was not super surprised by it overall, except that I didn't quite expect as much just general crossing. But I definitely expected to see a lot of rush and a lot of combo, and not very much mid-range unless it used the Squid house card, which is kind of what the meta was. And
I'm pretty surprised that we still haven't seen a good Martel crossing or a good Barra crossing deck. I feel like those are, if crossing is good, somebody should make those decks.
I mean, crossing is good. Yeah, but
Yes,
crossing is also good in 3 houses that just have better cards.
Four
for
houses,
Rush.
I think.
Yeah.
What are the four? Oh, Greyjoy.
Greyjoy, Lanny,
Yeah, I forgot Greyjoy.
Tyrell.
I mean, Lanny, Tyrell, and
Targ.
Targ are just like those. Just have better straight up efficiency. Like I'm gonna grab power and I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna grab more power cards.
Same with
Like
Greyjoy.
what in Martell is standing itself, which is a serious problem, right?
The big
Well,
issue.
Arianne
The big
lets
issue
you-
for Baratheon is their economy sucks.
Yeah.
And the big issue for Martell is it's super great against these rush decks and against these people who play the game, but it's so bad.
Mid-range.
It's so bad against those who don't play the game, like Hyper Viper, like Night's Watch, etc. And that's what we see in the meta. And as long as that's in the meta, Martell is gonna have a bad time. At least the
honest. Martell.
the honest Martell ones, not the Martell Stags or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Buzz there. I think it's just Martell of the crossing decks is much more suppressed. Same with like Stark crossing is also super suppressed by the presence of other stuff in the meta, but just the efficiency of the packages of the other factions that you listed, Aaron, sort of keeps
I feel like
them in the.
I think
meta.
the stand. I think Greyjoy, Tyrell, Targ, and Lannister all have multiple cards that stand their asses back up.
Or just don't kneel to attack. which
Yeah,
is
or
just-
right, whatever, same idea. Yeah,
Or cheat. Let's not forget and cheat things into play. Let's not forget that. That is one of the successes of.
I mean,
the top
everything,
four of Lannister.
everything can cheat things into play right now. Flea
Not
Bottom,
everything can cheat
the
Tywin
best
into
card,
play.
the best card in the game. Flea Bottom. Cheating Tyrell
yeah,
into
but
play.
Lannister has has so many ways to just ambush and cheat. I
Yeah.
mean, 6
Yeah, like-
events and a bunch of
Or
ambush
Cersei.
Sure.
And
and Targ has 300 ways to stand and like ridiculous efficiency, and Martell Tyrell, which wasn't out, but that new little standy dude is fucking bonkers, isn't he?
Highgarden and Courtier, yeah. And
Yeah.
Stark has like a million ways to stop all of these things from happening. So
Yeah. So yeah, maybe someone should play Stark. At
Stark
Stalic.
I'm calling it right now.
Stark, you can't play the game.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it won Stalic last year, and everyone was hating on Stark at that specific point. And
The problem is, can Stark do Rush and Denial at the same time? Because
Stark doesn't even really do good mid-range decks very well. Like it's tough. You know, it's good against cheese decks, but it's not great against. Like I played
decks.
Stark twice with just my mid-range deck, and I won both games. One close, one not close, but it was like I was never going, ooh, Stark. Like, this is gonna be real tough for my
Stark-
Manny Rose
Stark,
deck. Like no, it's within the wheelhouse. You know.
But could
Stark-
Stark crossing be a thing? Like
No.
that's what I'm asking.
I don't think
Here's the-
so.
I don't buy
But I
that
could be
the
wrong.
reason it can't be is economy, because crossing, everyone has access to the crossing economy. It's just your zero cost locations, your King's Roads, and your Great Halls, and that's all you really need. But I'm more on board with the idea that an absence of standing or non-kneelers really hurts. Like even just Shay is amazing in Lannister because of her cost, because of her ease of standing up and doing the chump challenges in order to get the big one across. Like Lannister does it really well, like better than anybody, and I think that's why we saw Nico.
I don't
so
know
successful.
I don't know if Lannister does it better than Targ. I really don't. I feel like the stupid combo of the Plaza and Flea Bottom is just insane.
It is really, really
Like
stupid.
it's just like it's so extra stupid. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
Second Sons to stand any character but Danny and Miri.
Well, second
is
son
pretty
stand,
good.
second son stand Drogo, and then like have fun.
And then bring Second Sons out to
Yeah.
guarantee.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's dumb.
It's dumb.
All right. So Sid, why don't you update us on the over unders? How did all of us do?
All right, here we go. I'm gonna go through them, and then I'll hit you with the leaderboard kind of last, right? We'll see. We'll
almost certainly
pronounce
in
a
last
winner.
place.
For
I
it.
think it's Showenthal.
All right. Well, let's start with the big tournament stats. So we set the over under on Melee at 40. And though I got conflicting reports on the final number of Melee players, because I was gone by Melee, everyone put it at between 50 and 60. So it was definitely over. And the only person over was Chris. Everyone else was under on that one. So Chris takes an early lead by correctly gauging the over. And that was a pretty good line. I mean, people put it at like the low 50s, and we put 40. So fair play. The next line was pretty terrible, though. We said over under 190 for Joust, and we had 117. 17 total.
Fuck
Which-
you, FFGOP.
Wait,
I'm
guys,
sorry.
you mean smaller than first edition? Is that what I heard?
Yep.
Yeah. So
way smaller than first
This
edition.
means
So
that
I think-
Stalek will be over 3 times as big as Worlds.
So hold on.
That is-
you're
Can we
right.
can we add this in?
Or close.
This is specifically a byproduct of the timing. Like it is
Right,
specifically
sure.
a byproduct of
But-
this. Like
Sure, but that's still a thing that matters.
Wait,
No,
what
I
are the
agree.
Stalek numbers?
How many Road to Stalex were bigger than Worlds? Because I think it's at least
Like
two.
two,
but maybe
two, I
three.
think. Yeah,
3.
Okay, two.
Gen
Just,
Con was bigger. Let's remember this. Gen Con was bigger.
yeah.
So
but not
like-
nationals.
not nationals, but like it's clear that. But here's the thing: that the Gen
Yeah, but
Con
Gen-
being as bigger than Worlds tells me that there is demand for these
No,
kind of
that's
style
wrong.
tournaments in the
That's
United
wrong.
States.
That's not true. Gen Con is just everyone who happens to go to Gen Con, and it's like, fuck it, why not? I'll spend a couple
Yeah, but
rounds playing and
Gen
drop
Con's
immediately.
not on a Wednesday either, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just people at Gen Con. Like, so many
It-
people playing Thrones at Gen Con didn't go
Like
for it.
it was a weird confluence of things too. Like SoCal didn't come to Worlds this year. DC's done. Like there was a lot of people just not showing up. And I actually, even though, and we'll talk about Europe's performance, they didn't actually bring a ton of people. I was expecting a few more squads to follow the Euro national champs over. So, I mean, I was surprised. I think everyone was surprised by the low numbers. Our line was horrible, but I expected it to be like 150, 160, not 117. That was surprising, I think, to everyone there.
The game is suffering in North America, seems like.
I would agree. All right. So, everyone but me got points on that one because I had to be the problem child and go over. All right. So we also made a pick to see who would blow chunks on the walk back home from sensors. The closest we came was Jesse after shots for plots, puking in the bushes. No one picked Jesse though. Picks of Ritter, Chris, Sam Bratz, Sandy, and Booker all thankfully kept their lunch contained
So,
for,
in my
for the
defense,
duration. Oh yeah.
in my defense, I have drank with Jesse many times, and he has not thrown up. I've thrown up before Jesse has. I did not see that coming.
Have you ever seen him do shots for plots though? I mean that's.
I mean, Jesse
We
was,
did, we did shots for shots. So like,
Oh, that's true.
but I mean, the Shots for Plots World Championship was quite a fantastic experience, and was definitely something we'll repeat next year.
So no one got points for that. We bet on who would be the first card design holder on the live stream. Live stream was pretty limited, but in the third game streamed, Mr. Sam Bratz showed up, and I was the only one to pick Sam Bratz, so I get that one right there. Other picks were Malucci, Matt Lay, Chris Schoenthal. Roy had his troll bet on Tom Malucci, who was not a Thrones champion, but a Star Wars LCG champion. But Sam got on there, so I got a point there and got back into the mix after my early poor pick. Here you go, Roy. The next one you and I nailed. First plots played in the final match. You and I both called both plots. So Roy called Plenty, which Eric Green flipped to open up the final table, and I called Trading, which Reinhardt flipped. So Roy, you and I, we've got that final table plot meta on lock. Chris said Noble, Glazer Counting, Sandy Summer Harvest. Y'all were wrong. Next one was Cheating and Collusion. We set the line at 1.5, and that's under, right? I don't think we had a single one. I have it marked down. Yeah, I have it marked at 0, which is pretty awesome. I went over, so everyone else got the points except for me.
Thanks for
It
being
was
so
a very
contradictory.
drama-free world, except for a couple things. Which
Except for
let's get
FFG.
into it.
Yeah, the next category was 2.5 organized play snafus. I considered the number of snafus at 5. I talked to a few others to see what they thought was a snafu. I didn't get any numbers below 3 though, so I think we're safely over the 2.5.
what would you say are the snafus? Like what?
So we'll talk about some of the biggest ones that I think everyone agreed. They had
Late
two different times. Well, they had two different times posted for the day 2 start, or was it the day one? Yeah. So people were confused, which this exact same thing kind of happened at Gen Con in a different way, but you'd think they would get timing down, but they did not. So there was some confusion over that. Yeah. So they had two different publications on what the time was. I think most everyone was unhappy with the non-carryover of strength of schedule from the 2 day ones to day 2. It really
That is obnoxious.
They screwed up the strength of schedule on day 2 as well.
they had to recalculate. Yeah. So we could call that 3.
Okay. So it's stuff like that. It wasn't.
Let's not forget,
yeah.
first snow of winter.
Not
being
major
called by a
disasters, but, you know,
judge as a
snafus.
not savable effect. That is a thing that happened.
What?
Oh,
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an extra
That's
bad
a big
one.
one.
Holy shit. That cost someone a game, huh?
Likely.
Maybe. It at least cost them a character. Certainly did that. All right, so the consensus was that we were over. Sandy, I know you're trying to really needle me on this one because you're the only one who was under, but you lost that bet, buddy. You lost that one.
I mean, like, you lost that on like the first day. Like, if we were really being specific,
Well, like,
I remember you and I talking on the first day and being like, they already have fucked up like 3 times.
So the next one's really interesting, and I thought it was a cool category. We asked how many non 1.0 players would be in the top 8. Roy said 3, Glazer and Chris said 4, I said 5, Sandy said 6. The number was 4 non 1.0 players.
Nailed it.
Yeah, Glazer and Chris nailed it. But here's a nice little twist. Of the 4 who did play 1.0, they all played it for a year about. They all played at least in a regional, so I counted them as 1.0 players, but they were not long-term, very invested in the game. They're all 2.0 invested competitors, all of them kind of casual 1.0 players. So that was kind of interesting, I thought.
I think if we had not counted the European players as 1.0 players, then it would have been 6.
Yeah, but then everyone would have changed their fucking numbers.
Let's
really
all the
said-
Euros did.
All right, move on. Sid,
Well,
move
no.
on.
Okay, all right, we'll move on. Graduated cut shit. So over under 3 California players in the graduated. How dare Glazer and Roy go under? We set the line at 3, and there were 6 Californias in the graduated cut. So Sid, Chris, and Sandy. Sandy travels a lot to California. He knows. He knows the pedigree out here. So 6 of us made it. Over under was 4, Wisconsin in the graduated cut. There was exactly 4, so no one got that one. Everyone was on either side of that. It was a line buster right there.
We did exactly the line perfectly, though. Like, so.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there you go, perfect line. Maybe it should have been 3.5. There's an argument for that, but we'll move on.
We're gonna keep it for next year.
There you go. Over under 2.5 Greater Midwest. That's Ohio Wars to Come guys. We had at least 3 in that between Booker, Jesse, Chris Thompson, all made graduated. There were a couple more in there as well. So Glazer and Sid, we got it wrong. Glazer, we were under. So the overs got it on that one.
It's okay. Besides Jesse, they still.
Yeah, it's okay. Over
Chris
under
is good. I love Chris.
Over under 1.5 Pacific Northwest, and there were 4 of them up there in the graduated, right? Not top 16, but graduated. They did pretty well. So Sandy, Glazer, Sid, we got that one right. Chris and Roy did not value the Pacific Northwest.
Nope.
And then this was a terrible line. 4.5 Europe in the graduated cut. They had, by my calculations, about 12, maybe 11. Every single national champion but one made it into the graduated. I did knock out the one who didn't in the final round of Swiss. Felt a little bad about that, but I mean, it was it was a win and in game. Not really. It was a win and in game. I bought him a beer at Sensors that night to kind of salve his wounds. But yeah, he Lasse.
Oh.
He was the one who
Nordic champ, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lasse.
There you go. But everyone else made it. Every other national champ, plus a few others, Euros who just traveled. Yeah.
I dramatically underestimated the number of Euros there.
Really?
Yeah,
even being there, apparently.
Yeah.
Even after Tomas put his shirt up and we're all coming strong, and it was a pretty big group, Sandy.
Tomas and Darren and that's it.
Well, both Sandy and Chris underestimated the Europes. The rest of us were way over on that one. This is a sad one. Over under 2 Canada. Sandy was the only one who put under. Sandy, you're the only one who got that right. Everyone else was over, and they only put 1.
Matt.
They only got the 1.
Just Matt Gelman playing my deck.
Yeah, shout out to Matt. Next time, bring a few of your countrymen along with you, man. Over under 2.5 Minnesota in the graduated cut. I believe there were 1. maybe 0. It was hard to track down Minnesota players that made it. I think it might be 0. I could be forgetting someone because I didn't recognize every name of the 40, but it certainly was under 2.5. And Roy, you were the only one who was over on that one. Sorry, Roy.
I don't care.
We all went under. All right, now here's some interesting stuff. The top 8 decks, and I was able to get a deck list from every top 8 player, so we have some good data here. The over-under on confiscation and plot decks was at 2.5. The actual number was 1. One plot deck with confiscation in the top 8.
Who ran it?
The person who ran it was, oh God, I forget.
It's all right. Okay.
I could grab my sheet to figure it out. It's who?
I don't know. Who cares?
I forget who it was. It might have been Neil, but I'll go back and look later.
No.
I was certainly running it, and I wish I hadn't have been running it because it was a waste of a plot the entire tournament. So everyone, Roy, Glazer, and Sandy got that right. They were all under. Over/under 3.5 marched in the top 8. Me, Chris, Roy went under. Sandy and Glazer went over. There were 4. So that was a good line. Sandy and Glazer, good guess there on going over 4.
Marched.
It's marched, right? Yeah, it's marched. It's good. All right, over/under 4.5 decks with Hand's Judgment. Chris, Roy, and myself went over. Sandy, Glazer went under. There were 5. So it was over.
Hand's Judgment meta.
Now, maybe I wonder if Roy may have been right that people saw all that combo and were like, maybe 2 to 3 Hands Judgment will go a long ways just to stopping.
Oh man, do you know what? It's making me feel good when I got yelled at in the last episode about Hands Judgment meta, and you guys are like, "You're so full of shit, Roy," and I was right.
I was over with you. Roy. It was Glazer and Sandy were like, Hands Judgment trash card, but it was there in the top 8.
I mean, Sandy would have Words or Wind in there, right? So.
I would.
He would. Oh man, drawing cards all day long.
Over/under Tyrell main faction. It was 1. We set the line at 1, and everyone took the under, and there were 0. So everyone is right that Tyrell is not maybe not in a great place. I mean, obviously now they are. I think
that Tyrell. To be fair though, the Tyrell deck that was in the top 16 was a really cool deck. It was very well played.
It was very well played.
Tyrell Reigns, right?
No, it wasn't Craig's deck. It was the Australian national champion from China. Adam, right? Yeah,
Adam,
that was a really cool deck. If you saw him play it, it was a really, really. He played it well. He did some really cool plays. So congratulations to Adam. I just wish that was the only Tyrell. Like there's just one. It was the top 16, and he didn't win his game. So, but yeah.
Next one is our biggest faction shocker. We put the over/under at 2.5 Night's Watch in the top 8, and there were 0. Only myself and Chris went under on that one. Everyone else went over, and there were none. I mean, that was a bad line. I think Night's Watch just was not really positioned well. Maybe people got cold feet with Night's Watch.
Night's Watch Wolf was pretty well positioned, but nobody brought it.
Nobody brought it. Yeah.
It would have.
Over/under.
One. So I don't know. Ryan Leonard.
There was a few out there, but not many. Yeah.
Yeah.
The over/under on Lannister, we put at 1.5. Only Glazer and myself went over. We got it right, Glazer. There were 2. Nice. There were 2.
Including one amazing one, right?
Well, I was playing Lannister, so I had to be like, I believe in myself. So I went for 2, and it worked out. It wasn't me.
But would make it, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't think Wonder Woman. I thought Hyper Viper would make it over Wonder Woman if combo was going to go through. So, well played.
I think it turned out like Wonder Woman has more than one way to get to 15. Hyper Viper just has Viper. So if you did something to stop Viper, it was done. Whereas on the Wonder Woman's turn, they have 3 to 4 big characters. Yeah, that's true. Over/under on Stark, we put it at 0.5 in the top 8. And once again, Glazer and Sid are right on the mark. There were 0, and we both took the under. Everyone else thought there'd be at least 1. And then we also put the over/under on Baratheon at 0.5. And only Sandy went over on that one. I think he wanted to throw Barra a bone. Didn't happen.
No, I mean, Gabriel's deck was good. It was that Barra line. I can't say that I claim to have predicted that.
But there were a couple of Barra champions that may have risen to the ranks. They just didn't get there. We put the over/under on 2.5 Greyjoy. Turned out to be a good line. There were 3. Chris and Glazer both got that one right.
Shit, I feel like I'm doing well here.
Oh, you're doing pretty well so far.
Glazer and Chris seem to be doing the best.
We put the over/under on Martell at 2.5.
wow.
Only Roy went over, and there were zero Martel.
Roy loves Martel.
Yeah.
I actually don't love Martel, but
Roy
I didn't
fears
think
Martel.
it would be zero.
There
I
you
thought
go.
there might be one. And then we put the over/under as 2 Targaryen. We all took the under, and there were 3, as history tells us now. So, I mean, I think that's a really good indicator of how I think Targaryen, at least by this cast, was not expected to do as well as they did. But, I mean, they had a great day, right? Targ put 3
I
into the top
got
8.
laughed at for it being that high, by the way. You were like, that's a crazy lie. There's no way more than 2.
And we all took the under, and we're like, obvious choice. Whoops, yeah. All right, now we get into more kind of interesting things. Most popular neutral card in the top 8. So I took what we'll call the Roy pick, and I said Barrack, and there was only one, but at least there is one Barrack in the top 8.
Roy pick. I like
Yeah, Roy, you picked Hand's Judgment. Aaron picked Nightmares. Chris picked Great Hall. Sandy picked Littlefinger. And Great Hall was there at 6. We did make a little kind of note afterwards, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do Econ. Roy picking Nightmares, Aaron picking... Oh, I'm sorry, Roy picking Hand's Judgment, Aaron picking Nightmares, and Sandy picking Littlefinger. Those were all at 5. 5 decks in the top 8. So it was those 3 were like all well represented. Great Hall just had that one more, 6 out of the top 8. A couple of things I noticed about neutral cards, though. 3 decks did have Flea Bottom. 3 decks had Superior Claim, and I think that might be the story of the neutral cards in the top 8. There were really common ones. I mean, like Littlefinger's all over the place. It's in all kinds of decks. You expect to see it all over the place, but 3 decks with Superior Claim, an event you just do not expect to see that often now. I think it's part of the story of the Rush and Crossing decks. Only 1 deck in top 8 ran Varys, and it ran it as a 1X, which I thought was interesting. And only... Oh, go ahead.
Wait. Relentless needs to be in more decks.
Maybe.
Relentless is really fucking good.
Iron Bank will have its due. The Ryan Champ card was in 1 deck in the top 8, and it was also a 1X. A 1X in the winning deck. It was.
So we all get full bleed Ryan
1X.
Jones. So Ryan has to buy like 9 of those packs. So
most popular agenda in the top 8, we all said Reigns, and that was true. There were 4 Reigns, so half of the top 8. I think that one we saw coming. Final table, winning faction, right, was obviously Targ. No one was on the Targ train. Roy said Night's Watch. Chris Greyjoy. I said Night's Watch. Glazer said Night's Watch. Sandy said Lannister. But Targ wins it, so we all lose. Winning agenda. Roy said Fealty, Chris Reigns. I said Banner Kraken. Woo! Glazer Fealty, Sandy Reigns, and Crossing wins it. So we all lose once again. Now, coming up to our final pick. This one is important. We said what meta will the winner come from, but we adjusted it on the fly because we said, well, everyone's just going to say Europe. So we decided to switch it and just say, who are the 2 people who are going to meet at the final table? No one guessed any of the 2 people. In fact, no one even guessed anyone in the top 8. So here was my proposal. Before we get to this final question, I'll give everyone an update on the score. Roy, you had 11 bets correct. Well done, sir.
Last place.
It was indeed. Sandy at 12. I had 15, but Glazer and Chris tied at 16 apiece, right? Now, I propose a tiebreaker, which is we take the 2 people that everyone mentioned. Really, it's just between Chris and Glazer. And whoever has the combined highest placement of the 2 people will win the tiebreaker. Are we all amenable to that solution?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
All right. So Roy actually had the best prediction with Tomas and Sam. Because Sam was a top 16 player. Tomas was not, but they both made graduated. So he actually had the highest guess on placement. But between Chris and Glazer chose Tomas and Malucci. Unfortunately, Malucci dropped quite a bit. He did. Yeah. Chris only did marginally better than you, though, with Evan Soar and Alejandro. Alejandro finished in 18th, just outside the top 16, and that edged him. So, Chris, We give him that one little extra bonus point for actually predicting the best finishers, and that gives Chris Schoenthal, our absentee guest tonight, the Pick'em Championship for pre-Worlds over under bets. So way to go, Chris.
So what Chris wins is Chris chooses our shots at Thrones War, and Sandy, my friend, you will be drinking whiskey in 2 weeks.
Did we come up with a number? Was there a number?
Wait, why?
It was 5 was our original number, because our original bet was I would do 5 shots of vodka, you would do 5 shots of whiskey. We agreed to that.
By the way, we're going out the Friday of Red Saturday 2.
I'm not. I can't.
Well,
I've got to do.
No, you're not.
I'm not.
Some of us are.
I'm going to hang out with John and Matt at Dan's house. So, all right. Transitions.
So, can I say one more thing about Worlds?
Sure.
Because I got the okay to do this. So if people were watching the boards before Worlds, you saw that Jesse Carpenter and Alex Black set up a big pick'em where you pick your teams to see who how they finished, and the winner would get to be flown out to Jesse's name day tourney. And
I like
this
Jesse.
host of the Second Sons won the pick'em. So
that's why you're going to Jesse's tournament.
So Jesse's going to fly me out in March, which happens to be just his birthday is 3 days after my birthday. So I get to celebrate birthdays with him.
Wait, when's your birthday?
In the Midwest, the 27th.
Well, Sid, you know another way to get a flight from.
Hey, Sid, what was your team?
My team was Eric Green, who made the final table, so that was a big one. I had
Everyone.
A bunch of other guys. They're going to make an official post and put it on Worst to Come, but I think they had a problem with getting their cast up tonight, so Jesse said, go ahead and announce it if you want. I only had one player on my team that did not make the graduated cut, and it was my $2 Matt Lay pick. Sorry, Matt. But you didn't hurt me, Matt. I got it anyways. But Correas was on there, Green, myself, and it was going to be Johnny Shen. Then Johnny Shen dropped from the tournament, and they needed a replacement. So I said, I'll bet on myself, and I made the graduated, so it was just enough. Chat saying they picked me and lost. Well, sorry, I picked me and won. You just have to pick all the other other players right. But Eric Green was not a popular pick. I think he said only 2 or 3 people picked Eric on their team at all. So I think that's what you need to do. He was kind of my okay. He's at a good price. I know how good he is. He does really good at Kubla. He does really well at regionals. This is my dark horse. And when I found out he was coming to Worlds, I was like, no one's ready for Eric Green. No one's ready. I'm gonna put him on my team. So it worked out. It won me a flight out to the Midwest next spring. I'm excited. So thanks, Jesse, for running that pick'em. It's cool that a member of this cast
That's
won.
the only time those words have ever happened in that order in the English language. It won me a flight out to the Midwest, and I'm excited.
Yay! It'll be fun. I think Sandy's going to be there, right, Sandy?
Yeah, I'll be flying there straight from Greece, actually. So
Ooh.
Greece for family stuff or Greece for a tournament?
Hey, bring me home something Greek.
Why not both? Make them have their road to Stalik when Sandy will be
All right.
there.
Whew,
I will also be there.
That was a lot of programming responsibility for me. I'm ready for Roy to take the baton back over. Oh, my God.
All right. So, I'll be passing on to a second because I think everyone on this cast agreed that sort of after the Worlds and sort of we all agree that it's time for a little bit of a shakeup, I think, in the game. That maybe there wasn't as big of a change in the meta with the cards at the end of the 3rd cycle. So we are going to talk about the restricted list, which was definitely probably one of the most discussed topics about the game in general at Worlds. A lot of it had to do with Hyper Viper, and many that sort of is what, and Wonder Woman, which is what sort of crystallized, I think, a lot of general talk about it at Worlds and in the Facebook group. And I know if you looked at Danny's face at the first day of Thrones, he did not look like a very happy man. After watching
distraught.
Day 1A.
Distraught
he looked a little
is
distraught.
the right word.
A little distraught. So if there's a time when he might be sympathetic for arguments from the community about why a restricted list would be good, this would be a time in which the major tournament for FFG, not for our community, but for FFG, saw a somewhat degenerate deck do pretty well. two actually, both Hyper Viper and then Wonder Woman is in the top 4. So I'm going to throw this towards Aaron, because as anyone who follows the restricted list discussion should know, the restricted list is one of Aaron's babies. Aaron, you have a little bit of many things for us to discuss here. So what do we got?
Way too much, because annoying Roy as much as possible is always my goal. So if you have been on the board, you've noticed that I haven't been fighting about the restricted list. I admit that I want it, but I've stopped arguing for it. I realized recently that we're not actually fighting about whether there should be one or not. We're fighting about what our idea of the restricted list should be is. So I made a scale from 1 to 7 that suggests different levels of where we feel there should be a restricted list. We're going to go over it. We're going to vote as a cast, and then on our Facebook page and on the description of this, we're going to post the quiz and let the community vote. Let the community have a voice and see what they think a restricted list should be. Everyone cool?
Yeah.
All right. Level 1. I'm assuming no one on the cast is going to be, but it's possible. Level 1 is I'm anti-restricted list. I just don't like it in concept.
That's me. I'm level 1.
All right. Level 2. I'm pro-restricted list for only the most extreme situations. Only flea bottom right now is a problem, but it would take too much to fix it. Leave it alone or just ban it. 3. The restricted list is to break up oppressive combos like Flea Bottom, and as such, Flea Bottom should be restricted, along with one other really good card per faction or just Second Sons. 4. The restricted list is to break up NPE and make the game more fun. While Hyper Viper and Cersei aren't oppressive, they also aren't fun to play with or against. Same for Chamber, Heads on Spikes, maybe even Wall decks.
Can I say I'm a hybrid of 3-4 together?
Sure. Schoenthal, by the way, I talked to him about this in advance. Schoenthal is also a 4.
I'm a 3-4. Put them together. Big list.
All right.
3.5.
There you go.
On the rubric, you're a 3.5.
Yeah.
5. The restricted list is to increase deck diversity. Auto includes require no skills, so taking cards like Tyrion, Tywin, or Treachery out of every Lanny deck, or Drogo and Drac out of every Targ deck should be the goal. 6. I like 5, but I like the restricted list to increase deck diversity. We should all be playing themes, not just good stuff. And 7. I like 5 and 6, but I want regular shifts. The restricted list is a meta shakeup. So we've got everyone, but I believe Roy and Buzz.
So I think I am 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I mean,
So you're a 7
so much.
So
Yeah,
7.
I
So
guess I'm
basically a 7.
7, but I super much disagree with the examples usually.
Yeah. The examples are just sort of like
Yeah.
to give you the idea of what we're talking about. So, Roy?
I'm a 6.
Surprising precisely no one. I'm a 7. So I feel like a 7 arguing with a 4 is just going to up in circles, though.
Right.
Know what I mean? Because we're trying to get it to do different things.
Okay,
and
so-
that's why I've stopped fighting about it.
So Sandy, why are you against the concept? Because you're, I think, our outlier here. On
All
the
right.
cast.
Yeah, I think the restricted list is a crutch for bad design, and I think that the solution to bad design is actually good design. I don't think, for example, I know people are complaining about Flea Bottom, but top 8, 3 decks had Flea Bottom. Not even the majority. Just saying. It's
So
not
that-
that broken.
That only matters if you're 1 to 4, right? If you're 5, 6, or 7, it's not that it's a problem.
Right. So
that
my
means you
argument
think it should
against
be restricted.
4 is essentially that there are answers to everything, and you can print better answers to everything. My argument against the latter half of the list is essentially that as new cards come out, the meta naturally evolves, and you see reuse of cards from old stuff that you don't often that were overlooked when they were new, but they get pulled in with new cards. Second Sons is actually a great example of this. That card was garbage before Flea Bottom came out, and then made it good. I'm
Isn't that
sure
the same
as
cycle?
slots. I'm sorry, what, Aaron?
Isn't that the same cycle?
Second Sons came out before Flea Bottom, didn't it?
Yeah,
Right,
but
same
Aaron's saying
cycle,
it's the
but
same cycle.
yeah.
So
Okay.
So there's not a before in that instance.
They
except,
were intended to be played
Right.
together, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we should intend to print cards that make old unused cards better. I mean, I
that's
just
the
think
whole
that,
point of card games.
well,
Yes.
that's my point. Like I think that
But
without
no
the
one
restricted
restrict the
list,
old unused cards.
I
don't see
think-
why those two things are related at all.
No, what you're saying is deck diversity. I'm saying you don't need to have a restricted list for deck diversity. You just need to print cards that encourage that. My other like Dark Wings is actually a great example of this too. That agenda in 1.0 was like incredible for deck diversity. But more to the point, I think that a restricted list is a level of complexity around deck building that is fun for like degenerate deck builders, but not for the population as a whole.
Well, that's what we have a vote, right? Maybe that's true,
Yeah.
maybe that's not, but we'll find out.
One thing, the same argument that you're making, that you can just have new cards and the design is better if you just keep it off. If you restrict or ban something, that actually opens up for more design space. If you allow yourself to have annals on the restricted list, it makes you able to print wider diversity of events, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes,
Et
but
cetera.
you can also just reboot the entire game and print whatever you want too, and
Sure.
like that's
They
the
did.
ultimate culmination
Can
of that
I,
argument.
can I
agree.
make a
wait,
point
wait,
here?
Wait. I agree that it's a crutch for bad design, but the issue is we have some bad designs that we need to do something about. If this was a digital card game, it would be okay. Put a limit on this or edit a wording on that. But we don't want erratas, and we don't want bad design. So that's why I think we should have a restricted list.
Right. Like, what has to happen for treachery to not be in Lannister decks?
Well, I think treachery is a really bad example, Aaron, and we've argued about this millions of times because treachery is like the game is balanced around the fact that treachery exists, right? Because treachery is the only consistent character location and attachment cancel in the game. Like if you make it appear less, many things that are kept in check by treachery exit, like or enter the meta, and that becomes even more oppressive. Like Well, I want to go but I don't want to talk about specific cards yet because I want to go back to what Sandy was saying because I agree with a lot of the arguments that Sandy is making.
Me too.
Except for the fact of how LCGs are both released and managed. So the fact that we have an evergreen card pool is a huge problem because it means that there are certain cards like Treachery, Aaron's least favorite card, like Tywin, like Tyrion, that for as long as this game exists, they will always be there. They will always be sort of center. Like Littlefinger's a great example of this as a neutral card, right? Littlefinger is always going to show up in decks because it sets a baseline for 5 drops. It sets a baseline for neutral cards. It sets a baseline for neutral characters. It sets a baseline for card draw and a whole variety of things. It's like that card's never going to exit the meta. Treachery, unless it gets restricted, will never exit the meta. There are these consistent good evergreen cards. Even with rotation, which is the other solution, which I think is a better solution than the restricted list. Like in a dream world, I'd rather just have more aggressive card releases and aggressive rotation, but we don't have that because of the way the LCGs work. The fact that we have an evergreen card pool, which means cards in all the boxes will not rotate, in the core set will never rotate. So we live in a core Tywin meta forever. This isn't Magic. This isn't Hearthstone. Hearthstone actually has this problem too. Yeah. But it's a lot. It's like a lot of other card games that don't have that. That the fact that bad design will eventually leave, but bad design in the core set, like Tyrion is never leaving the game. Like he's just never.
Well, further,
neither is
if we assume there's
yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It'll eventually rotate out. But so we assume, as far as we know, there's something like a year between a card's release and like whatever's in testing. At least that was first edition. I'm assuming it's similar. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like that means that whatever's a problem, any solution would be a year away. And like I can understand, like even if I'm not playing much, so like Hyper Viper doesn't really bother me at all. If I see Hyper Viper, I scoop and walk away. Who fucking cares? Doesn't bother me. I don't care if I win. But like if you're a serious tournament player, I get not wanting to see Hyper Viper, which like unless FFG knew it was a problem, like you have to play answers or you have to wait for an answer to be printed, or you can restrict 2 cards and make it go away.
Yeah, here I'm going to draw from my own experience. Here's my analogy because Sandy's comment made me think of it, and I think this actually maybe pushes me more towards a 3. Among like teaching circles, you often hear that good classroom management often starts with good lesson design, and I think that maybe even compares to this. Like if you want a positive community, it starts with good design, right, Sandy? Is that what you're saying? Like we need to have good design through and through, but sometimes there are students who defy good lesson design, who are so toxic and so warping to the classroom environment, you must restrict them. You must. You just have to place them in a very carefully constructed location, both in terms of like their influence on the rest of the class and their ability to kind of cause that disruption. But it makes me feel like those numbers are very small in real life, and they're probably very small actually in the game. So I think I'm more like a 3. Just the most like oppressive, disruptive stuff, find them a restricted environment, and if those fixes come along, then you pull them right off, right? You put them back into the general population, and you'll allow them to kind of find their way again. Because sometimes we just can't wait for the good design. It's just causing too much of a disruption in a positive, healthy community.
Can I counteract that point?
Yes, you can.
I don't think that we live in a world where we have any sort of toxic environment. Hyper Viper did not win Worlds. It didn't even. I mean, it made one.
But you're stuck on winning versus playing, and there is a distinction there. Like if you don't enjoy playing it,
you can play bad decks that are NPEs. You always have been able to.
Sandy, this is why I'm moving off of the MPE situation of 4 and just going to 3. Like only the most oppressive combo that just breaks the game. Right? I'm actually okay with Hyper Viper stuff being not on the list.
And also, them winning isn't because it's a bad deck. I don't care what you think. The Hyper Viper and the Wonder Woman decks are so consistent and they're so good. If people didn't plan for it, they would have won. But them being prevalent has forced people to put stuff in the deck that they wouldn't want to either otherwise, which actually restricts the deck building.
So the entire environment.
Yes.
I hate this argument because it's so. My response to it is, okay, if I'm a guy that doesn't like playing big guy decks and I only want to play resets, or I only want to play big guy decks, or I only want to play dire wolves, or I only want to play
whatever, we get it. Move on.
Mercenary.
You don't have to just keep listing. Just go.
No. I'm just saying there's no obligation in the game for my decks to be successful. That I can't complain that I just want to play 1-cost characters and I can't win games that way. It's so frustrating to me that I can't
we can have that argument because the FFG is selling us a game and they're telling us this is what you do. You play characters with your favorite guys from the books or TV series, and you battle it out, right? But then and you buy in, and then you go to the game night and you play versus a Hyper Viper deck, and you're like, what the fuck? This is not what FFG told me that I bought. And so FFG says, this is what you're buying, this is the game, this is how it's played, and then there are these people who defy that and change how it plays. So actually, I should be able to expect to be able to play in a certain way, and that is
a breach of contract, perhaps.
Oh yeah,
I disagree. I think that if you say that, then my big guys, Stark Barra Alliance or whatever the hell it is, should have just as much of a chance because that's what FFG promised me.
It should be
so
the
any
norm.
duel should be restricted because it's garbage. Apparently,
Okay, hold on.
No,
hold on.
no.
The game doesn't work if there's only one way to play it, right?
Exactly my point.
Sure. So you have to play a lot of the same things, no matter what your deck is, for there to be more than one way to play the game. I'm not saying combo shouldn't exist. I'm saying that combo in one shot where it's super consistent, there's only one specific way or one specific deck type that's really consistent against it, is unhealthy. And even if it doesn't win, and again, top 4 at Worlds and then barely lost on the top 4 is pretty fucking close to winning. So you might think it's bad, but the data says.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's a viable deck. Like it's
Right.
viable. Lots of decks are
hold on.
viable.
I think the issue here is, I mean, I agree with some of the points that Sandy's making, because there's always going to be a king of the jungle, right? There's always going to be a deck that distorts, warps, or is the better analogy to me is the center of gravity in the meta, right? And it pulls all decks into orbit of it in one way or the other, right? Either by destroying it, by pulling it too close, they get destroyed, or by making it so that you can defeat them, right? Hyper Viper, I think what makes it different than all the other decks, when we had wall decks, when we had Lannister Reigns, and this is hard for me to say, or other things like this, it really distorts the meta, because to consistently beat Hyper Viper and Wonder Woman, you really have to change your deck's game plan. You have to break the Corey rule. You have to play cards that don't necessarily, like, there are plenty of good decks that don't have to run Nightmares or don't have to run Hands Judgments, like, to further their game plan, to protect what they're doing, except against this one deck, Hyper Viper or Wonder Woman. And now, thanks to the prevalence of this really strong, really consistent deck, in order for you to have the tools to beat it, just not to just like execute the basic game plan of your deck, you have to play these tools that don't have anything to do with it. And that's a distortion of the meta, more than Lanny Reigns ever was, more than the Wall ever was, more than any of than Lanny Dragon was.
Can I build on that?
And that's what I think the concern about Hyper Viper and Wonder Woman is.
Wait, forgetting even these decks, looking at all those other decks, because of the release schedule of the game, there will often be from 4 to 6 months, if not longer. And the longer the game exists, the longer these periods will be, where there's just a top dog, or there's a top 2 or 3 decks, and if you really want to be competitive, you want to play one of those 2 or 3. And it seems like that's not the case right now, because we're at a moment in time where there is a diversity of decks. But that's not always the case. If we look through the history of the game, there's been 2 or 3 decks in most of the time that were functionally the meta decks. And being able to say, well, shit, we don't have anything coming out for that for a while. Let's shake up the meta, and then we can take things off and reshake up the meta as different cards come out is really healthy. Like, constantly looking at and reevaluating cards, I think, is healthy for deck building and healthy for play.
And to explain a bit more where I'm coming from, I think I need to explain. My English so good. So I think there should be a norm. I kind of like this what FFG sells me. I like it, but there should be a norm, and then there should be all this wide range of decks that exist to counter or to fool the other decks. But there should be a norm deck, a normality. So big guys should be, well, not necessarily big guys, but mid-range decks, right? Should be normality, while all of these other decks, control or rush, combo, etc., should exist to counter them. So, for example, if we have a rush meta, I will hate it. I will cry for a restricted list, exactly as I do now when we have a combo, or had a combo meta. I think we're gonna have a rush meta, and I hate it.
I think the
Right. We're gonna go in circles.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why don't we move on, and we'll assume Sandy is a no, and we'll assume that I'm a yes, and then Roy, Buzz, and Sid will say yes or no. Do you think there is a valid argument for restricting these cards?
Oh God, here we go.
Do you want to list the cards? Or
No.
We'll go one at a-
But here's the thing. I think we have to include Sandy in this. We can't just have Sandy being quiet for the whole thing. So for this to work, Sandy has to accept the norm
Sandy can
that
read
the restricted
cards
list
too.
exists. Is what I'm saying.
No, he could okay, he's just gonna say no, but sure.
No.
Okay,
No, but for the purposes of the thought experiment that we're engaging in, everyone needs to accept the fact that the restricted list exists.
So this list is meant to be for someone around a 3 or a 4. This isn't necessarily what I'd want on the list. I don't actually specifically want all of this on the list at all. But this is for around a 3 or 4. Heads on spikes.
No.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I mean, if we're getting rid of, if we're stipulating that this is to break up NPE and to make the game more fun, heads on spikes makes the game way less fun.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Randomness. So yeah,
All right.
I could put it there only because NP, not because it's good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just so luck based. It's obnoxious. Like I just won a game. I won a game earlier today where I would have lost. I think against Jonesy, where I would have lost, but I played heads on spikes, and so I won.
Chris chimed in the chat and said no.
Yeah.
Well, is that a no to
Hey.
hits on spikes or a no to being too?
He's saying no to heads on spikes.
He's not saying no.
All right. So, next
Chris,
card.
Are you saying no to heads on spike? Yes, he is.
Next card. Iron Throne.
No.
No.
I'm borderline because I feel like
I'm kind of feeling yes on.
I mean, the
on
problem
that.
is like
Edge.
all right, like is Chamber there? Is Chamber on your list?
it doesn't matter. Like we're
It
going
matters
individually.
so much.
So okay,
It matters, like,
so
just
okay.
saying-
So why don't we discuss them together? Would you be comfortable with only one on the list?
Only one? No. Well, because what does it do? What's the purpose of just putting like so you keep Iron Throne away from like this is the problem. Like people say restrict Annals. Okay, the only card on the restricted list is Annals. What does that mean? So like you have to restrict something with it. So just putting Iron so we keep Iron Throne and Heads on Spikes apart. Okay, sure.
So do we want Iron Throne and Chamber on?
That's a better
Yeah.
argument. That
Actually,
see
yeah.
there we go. That I'm much more sympathetic to. Yes.
I feel like if you restrict other stuff and you don't want the meta to just go back to stall, you kind of have to.
I think if you're restricting one, you have to restrict both.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no point.
I see. To Sandy's
don't-
design
but I
point
am not
earlier.
On
Wait,
both.
to Sandy's design point earlier, like the decision to give 95% of the location control in the game to one house is such a weird decision, right? If you're gonna make like what does the meta become if that deck just becomes dominant again?
The thing about Chamber is a deck that's built around winning dominance is much more fair or fun to play against when it doesn't have this 2-cost location. It gives 8 additional strength. Right, like Chamber is not that obnoxious to play against if it's like an honest.
Because then you can play the Dom game and
you
it's
play
like,
the Dom
here we
game, you
go,
play
here we
your big
go.
characters, you don't do that many challenges. Like, okay, but the fact that like sometimes you can keep your character standing and they just have this additional 8 strength that you can't do it, you can't nightmares it, you have to have frozen solid or blow it up is obnoxious, right? And I think separating those two doesn't prevent you from playing a dominance strategy. It just says you actually have to commit to this dominance strategy rather than they make it a little bit harder to play this sometimes NPE lockdown strategy. Which I think is
I would
healthy for the
agree.
game.
I would agree, except that Barra's economy is based on dominance, and like all this other stupid shit is based on dominance. So, I mean,
bad
you
design
just have to play
decisions.
dominance strategy. You're basically banning Chamber at this point.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
I don't think
in
you're banning
Barra,
Chamber.
in Banner, there's also Banner decks, right? Like in
I think
Barra,
you're-
main, sure.
I think you're not banning it in Barra Main, you're banning it in like Martell Stag. Or
No. Barra main would
The
Barra
opposite,
main would
right?
need Iron Throne because they need their
Yeah.
economy to work.
True enough.
So, all right. Next, these are a pair, I guess. Banner, Rose, and Annals.
Why would
Just-
Why not Wheels?
Yeah, I
Why-
think Wheels.
'Cause I don't think Wheels is necessary.
No,
I think
Wheels
adds
is-
it
It is.
consistently.
No, Wheels
It
is the
is.
consistency. Like this is the thing. Like
Yeah.
Hyper Viper, like I think this again shows the Aaron Glazer doesn't play in tournaments thing here because
It's
like
but it
all
wasn't-
about
you
Wheels.
played against Hyper
All
Viper
about
before Wheels or played against Wonder Woman before Wheels. Like those decks were, as Buzz was saying, like way less consistent. Like they didn't have the ability to like what happened to Chris Schoenthal, where like in turn 1 Booker had 18 events in his discard pile on turn 1. Like you can't do that kind of pure blowout consistent bullshit with the combo decks. You have to it takes more time to get
What Wheels means
your
is
combo.
that even if you build answers in your deck, it might not matter. It
Yeah.
probably won't matter. like Wheels, Annals means, oh, you drew answers? That's cute.
I drew my answers,
I have
too.
all my counters and all my answers. And they do that super consistently. Whereas you're just like, coppering and hoping for an extra couple of draws. And you're like, I got 2 hands judgments. I'm gonna make it. This is gonna be just fine. And you're like, oh shit, no, it's not. I'm gonna get crushed because they have 3 hands judgments in their discard pile.
So
And 2
Annals
nightmares.
Wheels. Annals Wheels. We're saying
Annals Wheels. Yeah.
We're saying yes.
I don't think you can restrict a banner. Oh
No,
my god! Please
never.
don't do that.
I think that would be so fun because who cares? Like then you just don't restrict anything else in Terrell, and like it doesn't affect anything but
First
combo.
edition essentially restrict Martell house card.
For a
Hey,
while.
there was a point that it should have just restricted the house card. It probably would have been healthier for the game, but yeah, no, I think it's Annals Wheels, and I think at that point Hyper Viper and Wonder Woman become basically better. I mean, they were where people would like to see combo rather than consistent. Like you can still no, that's not true. It can still be consistent, but it requires much more skill and requires much more planning and much more reps than the current versions of the deck do, which is just wheels. Can I go off? 75% of the time, yes.
All right. The Johnny Wright special is the next card. Bodyguard.
No.
And what?
Say no.
Like Bodyguard. So, but
Well, if there's other things on the list, right? So
Right,
you would
like-
be choosing Bodyguard.
Aaron, you did a really poor job unveiling these. Like Bodyguard without any context is Valor restricted. Is all the things that you need
Well-
bodyguards for. Is Iron Mines restricted? Like
Iron Mines will be a later discussion, but should Bodyguard be restricted? Should you have to choose Bodyguard over another card?
over what? Like
No,
what
but
is
Roy,
Lady
Roy,
Rain's
Roy,
picking?
wait. Take Aaron is stupid. He's always an ass. Doesn't matter. Just
Okay,
take,
that's
take,
fair.
Take it as something else. Take it as what is the implications of who drops.
Ooh, we lost
good-
Sandy.
Sandy.
Sandy was so disgusted by Aaron's
I know, he
restricted
could
list.
take it. You guys talk about Bodyguard.
I don't think Bodyguard is the problem. So
Yeah, no.
No.
I think Scott wants to fight
And-
you right now somewhere.
No, dupes are the problem because dupes can't be canceled.
There's one card that cancels Bodyguards. One.
Yeah, that's better than dupes. Bodyguards can also be hit by confiscation. Bodyguards can also be. There are answers to bodyguards. Like they're annoying, a deck being able to run 3 more saves, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think Bodyguard should be restricted either. But I've heard it enough that I wanted to bring it up.
I kind of like it actually.
Yeah, I
There's,
mean I think it's a soft ban of the card, but
It definitely hurts Rush. Like Rush needs to run them for protection against an early Valor, so they would
think so?
shake up things. Yeah. Look at the deck. Well, look at the deck list from the top 8 decks that were all rushing. They all ran them. Like it's a great early game card for Rush. Like it just
the Targs didn't.
no.
what
They ran.
targets?
The Targs didn't run Bodyguards. None of the Targs that were
the-
crossing or anything ran
Yeah,
Bodyguards.
but they're
ran.
not. They're not rush. They're not
Uh,
hyper rush. They're
the
fast decks.
the Braids one was Rush.
oh, Jim's deck, yeah. I mean,
But
We see them in the Greyjoy deck and the Lanny deck.
on the other hand, what would you put them on in a target deck?
Danny.
there's 2 targets
Drogo.
right now: Danny and Drogo, and maybe Magister Illyrio.
That's
Maybe.
it. But
They
in
never
a
really were,
Tyrell
yeah.
rush, they just put it on anything. Okay, a Marshal
Right.
and put Bodyguard.
Lannister.
Lannister, Tyrell, you're gonna get a ton. Even Greyjoy. Greyjoy.
Oh, Greyjoy, yeah.
Yeah. Greyjoy's
like
just got
Littlefinger.
See, Greyjoy is why I might want Bodyguard restricted, just because the sheer redundancy of saves in Greyjoy is getting absurd.
Yeah, see, that's the issue. I think it actually, all of these saves and all of this Valor sucks ass because of it.
But if you take
they're-
bodyguards from other people, then Greyjoy becomes even better.
I mean,
let them be good. Let them have something that they're good at. But I mean, just sticking saves on everything always just creates a scenario where okay, military challenge does nothing, Valor does nothing. Okay, we're back in the okay. I played big guys faster than you. I win.
I mean that's the Greyjoy Reigns game plan.
But I mean, Toharis is about to be out, right? So
Absolutely. But
The
Which
Harris will
will-
hopefully help with this stuff, but we'll see.
it might.
yeah, we'll have to see. All right. The next card would obviously be with some individual house stuff. It is the one that sparked this whole conversation. Flea Bottom.
No, it's balanced.
You're on drugs. I think it's the best card in the game by
It is
a
the best
pretty
card in the
wide
game,
margin.
but it's a neutral card. Everyone can use it. Everyone has good targets for it.
No,
It's
that's
like
the issue.
it's like
That's-
Valar.
that's
Valar
the
is the
big
best card in
issue.
the game.
No,
Go ahead, Buzz.
Valor is bad. the big issue with Flea Bottom is that everybody can run it. That's the big issue. That's not a compliment for it.
It's a multiplier, right? I think it multiplies the effect of interplay effects, and it decreases the effect of interplay restrictions or leave play restrictions. And some factions have that, and other factions don't.
Yeah, I think it's stupidly overpowered. I think the first person that sees Flea Bottom wins far more often than they don't. I think that you can build entire decks around seeing Flea Bottom sooner and just win games.
I have an exact counterexample for this in my IO Worlds experience. I was playing a Flea Bottom.
I won one game without seeing Flea Bottom, so that totally invalidates the whole thing.
Hey, Aaron, why don't you play some fucking tournaments before you start spouting off about statistical variance?
I've played in 1,000 tournaments. It's fine.
Yeah, sure you have. In 1.0, when Flea Bottom was not...
Anyway, get your point across, Sandy.
My point is, I saw Flea Bottom first, and I ended up losing the game against a Targ deck, which was also running Flea Bottom, who didn't see Flea Bottom first, because they saw Isle of Ravens first. And that won them the game. So, like...
We should all totally run Isle of Ravens.
Well, we should all apparently run Flea Bottom. I guess, Isle of
Ravens
is only a dead card when you don't have Flea Bottom against you.
Buzz?
Yeah, Isle of Ravens is super common. It's a great counter, I agree. But the issue is here, we're just sticking neutral cards in our decks instead of having cool other stuff in our decks.
You're right. I mean,
the decks just become the same.
We're putting 3 Flea Bottom, people are putting Isle of Ravens in it, people are putting 3 Nightmares to counter it. I mean, can't we just have other cards in our deck with colors on them?
I will restrict Flea Bottom if you guys also restrict Hand's Judgment.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, that's totally
neutrals. Neutrals.
Okay, not Rose Road, but Hand Judgment is
Why would you?
The game needs more economy.
Why would you restrict Rose Road?
He's not being serious.
No, because it's a neutral card that everybody runs.
Sure. So you can run in first edition where they've made them all 0 cost within the house, and that's fine. But
actually, you could do it now because we have more economy in the game.
Yeah, that just tanks out. That tanks out some houses.
Exactly. That's just more hard bans.
That's why I think you can't restrict Flea Bottom. Also, but I agree with Buzz's argument, by the way, that it is like it does tend to homogenize the different factions. Yeah. But I think the way around that is not to restrict Flea Bottom, but to make cards that combo well with it in every faction. So right now, the skew is not necessarily that Flea Bottom is so good. It's that like some houses get almost no benefit from it. Like, what do you get out of Lane?
It sucks in Lannister.
And Barra.
Yeah. And other houses, you get like a shit like Martell, Tyrell, and Targ off the top of my head. Probably Greyjoy. Stark.
Oh
God, yeah.
Greyjoy, Stark. Night's Watch.
I don't see a lot of.
It's not super obnoxious. I guess there's the Veteran Builder combo.
Yes.
There's pretty good neutral characters for any house. Also, like
Wildling
Scouts.
Wildling Scouts are just
Begging Brother.
Amazing.
Yeah, like you're not.
Just House Maesters, like pulling them out as claim soak.
Yeah, Aaron, like I said, the moment that your argument becomes this is too good, every deck runs it. Well, like there are lots of cards like that. They define.
No, there's not. There's just not a lot of cards like that.
6 out of the top 8 had great hauls.
Yeah. I mean, yes, and in literally a month we get an answer for that. Literally, like 2 weeks.
And we've had an answer for Flea Bottom, which is why there were only 3 that made it into the top 8. Like, I don't know why would you want to restrict a card that was in fewer than half of the top 8 decks at Worlds?
But were they how many were there in the tournaments, and were they knocked out because there was a lot of Greyjoy there?
Well, I mean, but that kind of answers your question for you. Like, if the deck, if it's not sustainable.
So
like, why
wait. So Aaron says it's too good to restrict it. I'm saying it's in too many decks. Restrict it. I want. Okay, so in my scenario, I want it on the restricted list. I want Joshua Chambers to have it as his restricted card and take all of these cool interplay effects and put them in a deck and have a really cool, fun Flea Bottom deck, and it's special. Instead of having it in every deck and just put in everything in every deck.
So I agree with that point, and I actually think that's the most valid reason to restrict it. But I also think that in 6 months that won't be an issue because we'll have enough good locations that it'll just get squeezed out.
I don't think the best card in the game gets squeezed out that easily. That's not how
Well,
Thrones has
I
ever
think
worked.
you're.
I
jump
think
to that is-
Sandy has a point. I think
I
in
think
some
I think
factions.
I think
think
Sandy wants to
everyone has
keep
a
it
point.
because he's only ever been good with this card.
Yeah,
that's unfair.
You're right. I was never
No,
gonna. No.
That's unfair. But
I know.
I think Sandy has a decent point where certain factions that it's more marginal in will get pushed out over time. Like Stark, where it's good but not great in Stark. If there's a good Stark location or two good Stark locations in the next cycle, it could get pushed out or go down to a one of. Like, oh, if I see it, that's great. If I don't, whatever. Yeah. Or Night's Watch, which while the veteran building combo is obnoxious, Night's Watch that combo isn't tearing up Night's Watch, right? I don't think Darren and Tomas are running it, right? It's a bit more marginal there, but I think decks like factions like Targaryen, factions like Tyrell that have these obnoxious combos with it, it's never going to go anywhere unless we restrict it, right? Come on, it's super good in Targ.
It won't leave Targ.
It's just like,
But it's
no way. It's
it's
super
part of-
good.
it's
What's
part
going
of
to
the-
pressure it out? Because it's not like Targ has bad locations.
You'd have to restrict something like Dracarys or Khal Drogo and then make a choice.
I mean, right? but
Because
then-
the Second Sons
Like-
isn't on the list of things I suggest restricting out of Targ. It's
No, you're
Dragon
right.
and Drogo.
Right.
Because then your deck is doing something. It's not just running the 60 most efficient cards, including the 15 most efficient neutrals.
Well,
But
what
I'm
you
going to
need
play my semi-host role here and just say we're going to just table this now.
Fine. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
All right. Pick a house besides Targ, because I just said Targ.
Lannister.
Big Cersei, Tretch.
I don't think treachery should be restricted. I've said this many times. I think there's no other options to do what it does in the game, and that's a problem. Well, I think that's a problem.
That's why it's restricting, not banned. Big Cersei and Treachery just means you're taking Treachery out of Rush and weakening Rush a little bit.
I would argue Big Cersei and Tywin.
Or Big Cersei and Tyrion.
Oh, actually, that's probably better. Yeah. I don't know.
Tyrion
I-
pulls a lot of the bullshit, and
I agree on what happened to the sound.
We can hear you.
No, we
I
can hear you. We're all just waiting.
It became so silent, no static noise or anything. I was like, what the fuck? No, okay. So I agree on Cersei, but I'm not sure on the second one at all. There are so many
Yeah.
good cards, but they should be able to exist. They're not problematic in themselves or in a combo with something else, I think, except Big Cersei.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
Big
Big Cersei
Cersei.
belongs, but probably not Treachery. But if it needs a second card,
Tyrion.
I think Tyrion or even Tywin, one of the two.
Yeah.
How about whatchamacallit? The Hound as the second card.
Hound
I
doesn't.
I don't think so
know.
anymore. Not now.
No.
I think the Hound
too
is
many
so
jump
good.
effects.
He's good.
Sure.
But he's fun, and it's something to play around. It's part
Yeah,
of
he's
their
super
identity.
interactive.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
is.
You're not
think
like,
it's
oh,
Tyrion.
the Hound. I got beat by the Hound. I mean, sometimes you get beat by the Hound.
I think
but
it's Tyrion. It makes Lannister decks and Banner Lion decks that want to use Tyrion have to stay away from some of the other interactions that can get kind of obnoxious with Tyrion. Like it's saying I'm going to build a Tyrion deck or a Lannister good stuff deck that has little Cersei rather than big Cersei. So I think that's better.
All right.
I just think Tyrion's a dumb card.
I've never heard you say that. Pick another house.
Greyjoy.
Martell.
Oh,
Oh,
beat ya.
I heard Greyjoy first. Mines, we do not sow.
Again, I think we do not so is necessary.
Why?
It's also loyal, so I prefer. I'd
but
actually
how's
rather
it-
see
Yeah.
Mines.
newly made rather
Yeah,
than.
I
really,
agree.
really made
No.
it interesting.
I feel like it's too easy to just say, all right, I'm just going to run Iron Mines and never run newly made. It has to be a choice, right?
How about
Choice. Banner Kraken, like all the 12 cards people pick for Banner Kraken are always 3 Iron Mines.
Yeah, they're
2
saying,
or
do I?
3 Maids.
Right, but the thing is, in Iron, if you're going banner, there's still the in-house restricted things too to choose from if you're choosing mines, right?
Well, that's the other thing, right? Like, what are we trying to restrict? Like for Targ, you said Dracarys and Khal Drogo, and I think Plaza needs to be on that list instead of Khal Drogo.
I can see
Plaza
that.
Pride. Yeah.
Well,
Pride.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree with Sandy 100%. Like,
But like,
So-
I think having 2 in-house cards versus 1 in-house, 1 for the banner is essentially like Iron Mines you put on there for the banner, and you maybe pick a loyal card. But I don't think We Do Not Sow should be it though.
should be.
I think that's
from my heart says Euron, but
I
that's
can
just-
see Euron. Euron is super annoyingly swingy.
Dagmar.
Yeah.
Dagmar is also one. Like, I mean, particularly with HRD floating around soon, like Dagmar is going to be a suppressive card.
So
yeah.
remember that like my hidden sort of goal here, my always hidden sort of goal is like, if you restrict Iron Mines, We Do Not Sow, your Greyjoy deck is trying to do something different now, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got a long-lasting Greyjoy deck with mines where your We Do Not Sow is trying to get unopposed and do that shit, and like it's trying to make a choice about what your deck is doing
I think-
more than just
I don't think that. Like, I
how
how
think,
consistent.
come on,
it
Aaron.
is.
I don't think
Come on.
anyone would pick We Do Not Sow in that case.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
I
that's
don't think
true.
so.
Like it depends on the meta.
I mean, but here's the thing: like, We Do Not Sow is not like a you must push the unopposed theme kind of card, right? It's like, because at some point, particularly in the early game, you're gonna get an unopposed challenge, and you can use it to control swingy early game locations. Like, I think that's the most
then
effective thing about We Do Not Sow, right? Like,
So
it's
that's
not.
got to be
That's why it's in
Euron
Reigns,
or
which doesn't give a shit about unopposed challenges, but it's also why it's really good in the Crossing deck, which does give a shit about unopposed challenges.
so then it's
like-
got to be Euron or Great Kraken.
Like, yeah, Kraken, if you really want to say, hey, you have to choose between saves as a, like, saves and Great Kraken interact really well together, right? Because Rush loves saving its good characters. I think that's better than We Do Not Sow. Plus, We Do Not Sow is useful as a suppressive card to obnoxious locations. Like, and it's easy to play around. It's like it's a legitimate, like, if you're a Night's Watch player, you know, like, is this a turn that I could let my wall get turned off? But he's got 1 gold. Like, it's much more interactive and interesting, I think, than like Newly Made Lord or Kraken.
I think Euron's the one. It's so fundamental to the Reigns deck, and if a Reigns deck doesn't have Iron Mines or doesn't have Euron, I think it becomes a much more interesting. Like, they're gonna have to adjust and maybe make the deck a little bit more interesting. I think Euron's not We Do Not Sow. Like, it's a defining card for Greyjoy.
Be right back.
And we don't get rid of We Do Not Sow. Like, you got to win the unopposed. They blow up locations. That's what they do. Euron is like what they do with an intrigue icon and renown. and like really easily does what they do. Like, he doesn't even have to pillage the like. When I don't know, way back, when I'm looking at core set cards and I was like, oh, okay, well, how often are you going to pillage a location? It's like, oh no, it doesn't matter. Just whatever's in there. It's like, oh, that sucks. Like,
Yeah, as someone who played,
there's so many good locations now. Like, Euron just gets better and better and better and better. Like,
and
he might be
swingier
the
and
best.
swingier and swingier.
Yeah,
That's the
he
other
might be
thing.
this best 7-cost character in the game right now. Like, I feel pretty good about saying that.
Big Cersei.
Yeah, she's up there.
I mean, it's just she triggers off of heads and like just
Yeah.
every dumb thing in the game she triggers off of.
She's a good card.
All right, fair play.
All right, Martell then.
The only card I'm sure I want restricted in Martellus is Viperize.
Oh, please and thank you. Yeah, let's get that thing
The,
restricted.
the other, just for something else, I have Gaston and Orphan listed as potentials.
Orphan's probably the better one. If you're really worried about oppressive things,
Yeah,
always-
but then you
it's
have to
always
request, you have to do Vanguard too, right? Because that's the combo.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay, so
Vanguard. What?
Orphan.
Vanguard Orphan. Have you ever seen the Vanguard? You've never had that happen against you?
Cancer
Sandy, you
Lancer?
played a lot of
Lancer Cancer? That's terrible.
Oh, I don't ever have power on my house. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I play Targ.
Was
I would
any
say-
opinions on Martell cards?
I mean, personally, I think some of the icon removal should be restricted, but I can't really justify that with any sort of them being in good decks.
You just
It's
don't
just-
like to get
I-
your icons
I
taken
think
away.
I
Sandy.
think like
I think
so
his Viper Eyes is stupid.
I love
Like-
the Viper Eyes. I love
Yeah,
that
me-
there is
me
a
too,
hand,
but
love that there is a way to have hand knowledge. The issue is it's so good that it's 3x in every Martel deck.
Yeah,
And
it
it's-
should have
and
been
it's-
on
And every
one
banner
type of
Sunday.
challenge.
It's lose
Not
either
one
of two
type.
challenges and it's free. It's absurd. Like
One
that could cost
challenge.
if that were power and cost 1 gold, it's still in every Martel deck. Lose a power challenge, pay 1 gold too, and you still play in every Martel deck.
Yeah,
You would.
maybe.
No,
You would. You're losing power challenges.
but I mean,
I mean, then it becomes worse than Seen in Flames, and I don't think you want that. I would just say
I think that's exactly what I
zero.
want.
Leave it at 0 cost, but how about just one challenge? Just so it's like, okay, I'm playing Martel. I have to be really careful about the mill challenge. Like, stick with that theme. Like, you're going to get punished for going on military challenges against Martel, because that is kind of a theme from the books, right? Don't attack Dorne. You're going to get screwed. And we have it with what's it called? The claim flipper. You've got it with their little sand snake,
Vengeance.
and then and then you could have it with Viper Eyes. So it's like, be real careful on military challenges.
Aaron, no,
Power
but-
challenges?
but
No.
But that actually is the argument for that it should be the power challenge, so that you have to choose. So what do I play around? Do I play around flipping the military challenge onto myself, or do I play around having him see my hand, etc.? It's way more interesting than, okay, I just don't make military challenges against Martel.
Maybe you're right.
I don't
but,
think.
But at least
but I
knowing
guess-
that
But,
Vipers.
and we're not gonna errata a card at all ever
Yeah.
anyway. So
No. So you're
I
restricted. I agree.
Particularly
think-
that one that fundamentally redesigns the card. Like we may get something that like cleans up the wording that you don't like have to actually like the
I'd-
card
I-
basically
I'd-
functions as printed.
I'd
but
rather
well,
ban it and it's done.
yeah, I mean,
I actually think.
but
I actually
FFG
think
doesn't
that
want to ban cards, so
If we're gonna restrict something that is like a when you lose effect, I think this is the wrong card to restrict. I actually think Vengeance for Elia should be the restricted.
No,
Because-
Oh,
really
no,
not
it's,
good.
it's too expensive. Yeah, it's not great.
It's
Cost.
not the fact that it's not great. The fact that, I mean, I thought we were trying to shake up deck diversity or whatever.
But
make
it's not
you
even
choose.
played in decks anymore.
Yeah, I don't see it
It's
very
too-
much in
yeah,
Martel
no,
decks.
it's not in
Yeah.
played.
Well, I don't know.
So that is why.
Are we
I
only
want-
restricting
I-
cards that people play? Is that?
Well- Probably.
It's like, I mean, then we should just take Barra off of this list.
Well, sure, Barra's there for Chamber, and then
Rose
maybe
Road
Lancer.
Patrol, get those
I
fools
mean,
restricted.
I would restrict Chamber and Lancer from Barra, so might as well. Like Bob is a maybe, but probably not, right?
Bob's
No,
fine
like-
now.
It's
No.
just Lancer.
If-
Lancer is annoying and Chamber is stupid.
All right, who do we have left? Tyrell? Did we say
Nice watch, Terrell. Great. Nice watch, Terrell and Stark. Terrell.
All right, let's do Knights
Uh,
with Tyrell.
the
then
the
Nice
only
Watch on
card
Stark.
I'm sure in Terrell is High Garden Courtier. That card is fucking busted.
Okay,
Yes.
but the problem is, Aaron. The problem is people haven't been able to see that card highlighted
Okay, fine.
in
Yeah,
a major
yeah,
tournament
yeah.
yet. So.
It'll get there. So give it like a month
Yeah, I
and then
mean,
restrict the shit.
I agree. In-house stand effects, totally dumb. Especially ones that you can banner in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're real
It's-
stupid.
it-
Like, what about a Targ Rose?
Well, I mean, at least it's a
Crazy.
character that can be removed.
It's just so goddamn strong, and like it's flea bottomable. It's just crazy.
And from my version of why I like the restricted list, it's also a good card because it's an excellent card to build around. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I choose this as my restricted card, and I'm gonna have these strength pumps, and then blah blah blah, and it goes in many decks, and that can choose it as a restricted card, and like, okay, this is my thing, this is what this is my theme. So I think that's also a great reason.
So I want that card to work with Randall, so I don't want to restrict that. But how about Tinder Marge?
Mm.
You want to play the Lord Jumpy shit? Play the Lord Jumpy shit. You want to play? You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't think
you
anyone's playing these cards, to be honest.
Oh, High Garden Courtier people are gonna play,
Yeah.
and I think
Tinder Marge is still out there.
Tinder Marge is
Like,
gonna see a
you
lot
want-
more play now that there's a Terrell box. Like, was
I
it
guess banner
play
roads,
before?
maybe,
No.
but I don't. Yeah,
I mean, it's busted in Tyrell, it's busted in Greyjoy, it's busted in Barra, but Barra sucks, it doesn't matter. And
Lannister.
It's busted in Lannister, yes.
so right, but that's okay because if it's busted in everything, it's busted in nothing. It's like saying
Yeah,
Great
that-
Hall is busted and everything.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works in this
Well-
instance.
Sure.
Like, busted in everything is fine if you don't mind it being in everything. And
Okay,
if that's
so-
not the goal, right?
You have to remember that I am against rush being the norm, and this is a super rush card as well. This speeds up the game so much. It's insane.
That's
Oh.
true.
It's a really strong card. Oh my god.
All
In
right.
a crossing, if you get 4 challenges, Jesus. All right, whatever.
Night's Watch.
Night's Watch, Forest and Raven.
Sure.
The Raven's the one I really want to restrict. I hate that fucking Raven. That Raven is so much better than every other draw in the
Do
game.
you think Forest and Wall is just too oppressive on the wall to do that? Like, you just can't do that
I
to
think.
the wall.
I mean, you can have Forest and Wall. It's just, but then you lose the.
I think
consistency of
taking the
Raven.
birds away from wall decks really hurts them.
Yeah.
I
The
think
thing is, you need to see the wall ASAP, and cutting
I think
Night's
it should
Watch
be-
drawdown helps.
I think it should be Old Forest Hunter instead of Haunted Forest.
See, I
Interesting.
don't think
Why?
so because Old Forest Hunter is a different deck type. Like that
Yeah,
doesn't really
that's the
like
point.
right, but you're not running.
Lots
that
of
deck
people run
need-
both.
That deck needs draw though, right? Like, yeah, I guess maybe.
So that's
maybe
my
for-
point.
So wait, so why?
It-
Like I'm not convinced at all about.
That just doesn't
Forest
affect the
Hunter.
Builders deck and the Reigns deck at all. And like, I don't know. I feel
Just
like
feel
But
team, right?
not
He was just
they're
really
not
in filthy
oppressive.
deck.
I mean, it does. I mean, restricting Old Forest Hunter does affect builders because builders is going to want Forest over Hunter, but losing Hunter
right.
hits its economy. But I think the question is, I think actually hitting the birds though is worse than hitting the
I mean,
old man for builders. If we're trying to check builders,
I just feel
don't
like
wanna
everyone's
hit
taking the
birds
Raven at
all.
that point.
No. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hit the birds because it's integral to what Night's Watch is and what they do.
But they have
and-
so much other draw.
But it's in every Night's
It-
Watch deck.
and they have so
like,
much draw. It's not like they don't have other draw they could play. And remember, like everyone goes, it's restricted. What do I play? Like it's not banned. No one's saying ban the stupid card.
So I'm saying ban Haunted Forest. Don't touch
Oh.
anything else in Night's Watch.
I could totally live with that. Haunted Forest.
we're not doing a
is
ban
really
list. Like
No, but that's what I'm saying.
expensive. Well, they'll never.
plus,
Okay, so if I can't ban Haunted Forest,
I
then
mean,
it's-
if we
that-
could just do
if
that,
I-
then
if
ban
I-
Haunted Forest and Flea Bottom, we can move on. Restrict Annals, Wheels, ban Haunted Forest and Flea Bottom, and then we go.
Yeah.
And maybe
Oh,
Spikes.
yeah, actually, restrict Annals and Wheels, and ban Haunted Forest and Flea Bottom. I'm
And
done.
Heads on Spikes.
Sure, yeah, whatever. Let's go. I'm done.
Then we can go home.
Yes.
I'd
But
be
actually, if-
100%
if I
fine
can't
with that.
ban a card, I would probably, as Sid say, Haunted Forest Wall.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
we know for a fact that Nate
Break
is
it up.
strongly anti-banning, right? Like
Yes.
he said it on multiple podcasts, multiple times. He's still in charge of all the LCGs. We're not getting a ban list. It's just I wish, but like it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, Netrunner has way bigger problems in this meta. It had a way more upset community, and instead of banning cards, they reprinted a core set. Like, so if FFG never wants to say you can't play with a card, it could do things like restrict to kind of soft ban it, but you could still figure out a deck that'll play it. But I don't think the current FFG leadership wants a ban list. Like I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's worth debating. But that's why I'm going to say we're going to move on. So one last faction, right?
Stark.
Sorry.
Stark, Ward,
Bran,
Fast
Rob.
Daddy, or Arya.
Ward.
Hmm.
Ward.
None of them.
Yeah.
right. Like,
I mean,
Stark?
maybe Ward.
I-
But
No.
No.
I mean, if you're gonna restrict them, do something that's actually like
Frozo.
Ward. I don't think is necessary to be on this list. Frozen Salt,
Froso and
maybe.
Bran.
I'll say I kind of like the idea of Fast Eddie. Like Fast Eddie thrown into Pride decks. I've seen that get out of hand. It's not really like a big thing now, but when you're standing Fast Eddie real easily and he's going on multiple challenges, it just makes Rush like really fast. Like there's a really fast Targ Stark rush deck out there. People just don't play it.
I could see
Stark Rose too, probably now.
I could see Fast Ed and Summer.
Ooh, Summer. That's an interesting choice, actually.
So
Only
Summer is the flea bottom Stark card
Yeah.
extraordinaire.
Flea bottom and
Oh,
wolf.
yeah, no.
In wolf's
Yeah,
clothing.
you
Yeah, I
can't
can
you
see
can't
Summer.
you
I forgot
can't
Summer
restrict
existed.
Summer if you restrict Flea Bottom. That's their thing, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's true.
You can restrict Bran though.
Yeah, I don't think Brand's that big of a problem. You just overload them on events, right? Like
Yeah,
if they're
but
just getting a Bran every turn, that's.
I mean, then it's
usually
got to be
fine.
Arya. Like the Banner Wolf package, right? Is 2 to 3 Brands, 3 Aryas,
Fast Eddie.
Fast Eddie and Froso, right?
Oh,
like
there's also Ward and Harrenhal. I just
Ward-
don't like.
Ward-
I don't like what Ward does to the game.
you know what I don't like,
What
and I
does-
apologize in advance because I love John. The card I don't like those of the game that also is about that is First Snow. Like I really do not like that card.
Bruno.
I didn't like it when they reprinted it.
I
But,
don't. I definitely don't like.
Having
two
experienced it
incumbents.
again all over again at Worlds this year, I was like, oh
You
right,
thought
I
it had
really hate
gone
this
away.
card. I really hate this card. So, but
I mean,
I wouldn't say
better-
banner restricted. We printed
You're
it.
getting hit by Ward and first snow. You guys got to play some 5-cost characters. Is what I think is happening. Maybe if FFG designed two,
better
like
5.
both Ward and First Snow are answers to a problem, which is over efficient, low cost characters. Like they destroy the Jorah Mormonts of the game, and that's fine. I think those answers need to be there, but like, it's not like you can't play around them. I don't think Ward needs to be restricted because it provides a natural predator for those like hyper efficient, low curve decks.
Yeah, but so does Night's Watch anyway. I guess it's fine being in Stark also. It's just a very Night's Watchy theme.
That's true. Yeah, the recruiter and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's Night's
Which is
Watch's
why we
theme and
see
it randomly.
Nitrous Wolf with 3 wards.
Right. And then you just run like extra. Yeah, I mean,
Arya and Bran. And
I'm not
Froso.
against that deck existing. It's just like it's actually one of my favorite decks. I just feel like I don't know, like it's too likely to just overrun a meta someday, and maybe it never does because I've been waiting for it and it still hasn't happened.
It was for a little while before Worlds, but that was clearly people playing the deck they weren't going to bring to Worlds,
Right.
In public. Yeah.
Oh,
I-
Roy. Oh, Roy.
I played
But-
the deck I took to Worlds.
Yeah.
Right,
Well, Sandy, your opposition to like you're not caring about Ward is just coming from all the target you're playing. You're like, oh, my 2-cost characters are unique, so I can save them from First Snow, and they have that keyword that says no attachments. So
That's not true.
eat it. You have Jorah.
Jorah gets warded. I think can't Second Sons get warded, or are they no attachments?
No, they
I mean,
can
who
get
cares?
warded.
They
They can
yeah,
get
but they
warded.
go away, so it's a waste
Yeah.
of a fucking ward.
I mean, and also, what are they doing in the marshalling phase? What are your Second Sons in the marshalling
Hey,
phase?
sometimes,
That's like Chris
sometimes you mar-
Schoenthal. That's like Chris Schoenthal playing the Hound.
No, sometimes you marshal them
and-
so they can discard themselves.
Yeah, but you know what? Seth played that ward on him, and then he was like, "Oh crap! Now I have to discard cards from my hand." Like it wasn't great for him. It was good, but it was like, oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't great.
All right, so that is our restricted list discussion. Our
Are
long.
you gonna put the survey up?
Are we gonna stick it in the chat?
I don't know.
Yeah,
This
you want me to do it right now?
Go for it.
Stick.
All right.
And then we'll post it on our
Gonna
Facebook page and
transition
in
us
the
for the last
and in
couple
the
minutes,
comments. Wait, hang on. So we're gonna post it in the chat. We're gonna post it on our Facebook page, and we're gonna post it in the comments of in the description of this episode. Everyone okay with that?
Mhm.
All right. So let's get Buzz some love.
So, Stolic. Stolic is this Saturday. Just 6 days from now. 20 Americans are going. Buzz is going. It's the biggest Thrones event of the year. It's the biggest Stolic ever. It'll be the biggest Thrones event of all time, as I understand it.
Mhm.
And so that makes it sort of the most important Thrones event of the year. So what are our predictions for Stolic? It's also conveniently this year, which I also think it was last year, right? It was the first major tournament with the Lanny Box legal, right? Right? Was
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rangers last year, right? 'Cause
First
Wama,
big one, yeah.
Yeah, first big one with, and it'll be the first one with the Tyrell box. So it's a big meta shakeup. We're getting an influx.
Can I just say, I
Yeah.
think I am the first winner of a tournament with the Tyrell box legal.
That's true. I think you are actually.
You definitely are.
And you're the only world champion as
In Iowa.
In Iowa, the Iowa Worlds, the center of the universe.
Everywhere else.
I didn't say at the beginning. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sandy. I did put it on the Second Son's Facebook page, but you, Sandy is the other world champion, which is what we can refer to you as, the Iowa Worlds world champion in a very well played and sloppily played final game, which I wish had been recorded because it was both extremely well played and also really poorly played at the same time.
No,
So
it was. So I will. First of all, the night before the tournament, I was out till maybe 4 a.m. ish drinking in Iowa.
you mean in Kyle's living room?
No, we went to the bar afterwards.
Oh, you guys went to the bar? Okay.
Or maybe we did. Maybe that was the next night.
Next night we went to the bar with Matt when he bought all the shots.
Yeah. And this was after 9 rounds of play. This was my 9th game, and it was against a Targ mirror. And I'm trying to figure out what all these strength reducing effects actually do. I don't know if you guys have ever played on a double Blood of the Dragon turn, but it's rough. That map is rough. With one Danny,
especially with crossing.
Yeah, there was no crossing.
Fealties.
But yeah, I made quite a few misplays, but still managed to pull it out.
You did pretty convincingly, actually. So
we call that pulling a Joe Miranda. That's what we call it. Pull the Joe Miranda.
It was actually not variance that was the reason why Sandy won that game. But anyway. Oh, Stolic, yes. Sorry. I was doing a whole speech about Stolic. All right, so Stolic, great. Everyone's excited. What are our predictions about Stolic? I'm going to throw it to Buzz because Buzz can awkwardly wiggle himself out of not saying what he's going to be playing. And then we'll go to Sandy.
I'm playing Toro Crossing.
Okay.
What?
All right.
That one Worlds.
That one world. Yeah, it's a good deck right here.
Taking the Worlds deck, Buzz? No fun.
If someone sits down against me and think I'm playing the Targ Crossing deck from Worlds, I'm gonna win so hard.
Yeah. Is it the Swedish special is what I call that deck? Because I think, yeah. There's some stuff in there.
I've got nothing for Red Saturday, by the way. I was so, we had basically given up on the pack coming out, so I had
who had
3
given
or 4
up?
things built. It's coming out fucking on Thanksgiving. I didn't even know that was possible. So I had totally given up, and I deleted Doharis from my brain. I've been testing a bunch of other shit, testing for people for Stolic, assuming it's the same meta, and it's not. And now I'm just like, womp womp. I have no idea what I'm playing.
I feel like Worlds showed us the rush, and that was without a Tyrell rushy box about to drop. So Stolic has the rush, but it's not all rush. I think either rush kind of dominates, or you see someone come up with something with the new cards that we just aren't prepared for. I believe there may be that little silver key deck. Maybe someone just solves Mace and they run the show with it. I'm not convinced that something like that can't happen. But I think Rush, you have to deal with Rush right now. I think everyone saw Rush did well at Worlds. We got more Rush stuff. Just Rush. I don't know if that makes it a great Stolic or just a really frustrating one.
Terrible for Buzz.
I think you guys are underestimating, one, if you tech against Rush, I think you can beat Rush with very high consistency. I just think we hadn't seen it in so long that nobody was playing those answers.
Yeah.
So I'll run King's Blood and discard 5 power off people. Let's do it.
You are not running King's Blood.
He's running Tari. He's not running King's Blood.
I would if I had time.
Targ Stag. So I think I largely agree with Sid. I think it's going to be a rush and mid range meta because I expect there to be little to no Wonder Woman and Hyper Viper because of the accusations that Americans had no honor by bringing Hyper Viper to Worlds. So I expect no Europeans except the guy who originated Hyper Viper and the guy who originated Wonder Woman. They're allowed to play it because they came up with it to their deck. But any other European who brings those degenerate evil combo decks, why would any competitive player play this deck that's ruining the game? That's a mark against Europe, right? Because why would these evil Americans, all 20 plus of them, have brought this deck that's ruining the game? So it's going to be a Russian mid-range then, because the thing that's suppressing mid-range that's not Greyjoy right now is combo. So with no combo, bring out the Lannister, bring out the Targ, bring out all the standard mid-range stuff.
Targ did really
I'm
bad.
gonna tell you a secret.
Hmm?
There will be all kinds of weird ass fuck stuff. There is.
Yeah.
There will be people who play Stark Direwolves, as they did at Worlds. There will be people who will play King's Blood and try and discard 10 power in the game. There will be people who do everything, and some of them will go to the top, and some of them won't. I think there will be more Tyrell and more Greyjoy than normal. But, I mean, there will be Starks, there will be Baratheons, and those who go far are either lucky or have a solid deck that does their own thing well.
I think Lannister is taking it down.
I think Tark's taking it down because I'm going to win.
That's what you said for Worlds as well, right?
And
I did
pretty
win
well.
A-Worlds.
You did pretty well on the weekend. You won significantly more than you lost over the weekend of the close to 20 games you played.
Yeah.
So
I really lost 2 games, and then I scooped 2 games. But, yeah.
there you go.
But yeah, I think the people who solved Hightower, and I know there are decks out there.
Oh God, yeah, that card is silly.
Yeah.
Those will be rough to beat, but it's
You
possible.
do you think anyone broke Mace yet?
Well, there is a Swedish deck, so yeah. I mean,
okay.
I know there is a Swedish deck, and if there is a Swedish deck, there is a Whamma has broken it for sure.
Who?
Who? If Whamma didn't break it, then Josh or Dave or someone did.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Italians are crazy for Tyrell. But I think they won't play so much Mace as they will play. Night's Rush. Euronight is back, right?
Yeah.
And then we Makos. I am not saying that Whamma is playing Mace. I'm saying that he has broken
figured it out.
He has figured it out for sure.
I think the real question for Stalik is how much Nothing Burns Like the Cold will be present, and I think that will help suppress high tower decks. It will help suppress wall decks. It will help suppress a lot of decks that like to set up locations. It will slow down, it'll slow down like builders, right? Because builders love doing things like wall, forest. I don't know. I'll set up a character. March me. Do what you want. Particularly now that they run flea bottom, right? But you can't do that anymore because hitting that forest or wall, 2 guys wall setups for decks. It's own it. First turn, that 4 gold wall's gone. You're you have fun. So you got 2 more copies you got in your deck. You got to find. Right. And if you set up a duped wall, you're that's even more screwed. I think it changes the sort of location, particularly specific location centric decks like wall decks. A lot, and if we see a lot of it, then it's gonna change the meta a decent amount.
Do you think decks that only run kind of econ and limited stuff might see a boost? So will they want to play it because they'll just
Lannister.
Even if you're playing Targ and they have Flea Bottom and Pride out, that's a big decision, right? For them to I'm gonna lose one of these 2. Dupes be damned.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I think
every time.
I think you run it in location decks as well, but that have more locations and stuff to choose from. Not only I play 9 limited, let's go.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
I think you could see it in Greyjoy,
Greyjoy loves it because they can set it up so they just newly made Lord the 3-cost location, and then next turn Nothing Burns the 4-cost location, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or something really obnoxious like a Tyrell deck or a Lannister deck that's running like political disaster into nothing burns like the cold. So
doesn't
so you just
Martell
save the
have to run it?
Arbor and Red Wine Straits and then flip the next turn and then say goodbye to all of your good locations. Right. So
Ugh. God. Shouldn't Martell run it?
Guys, I think we need to
really dislike
restrict both political disaster and nothing burns like the cold, because clearly they're going to be oppressive and NPE to everybody.
I mean, it could be. We don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what it looks like, but it has to be in the wild for a little bit. But yeah, that could be oppressive. But, no, Sandy says no, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So all right,
Stolic.
we'll do one major prediction for Stolic, the faction and the country of the winner.
Ooh. Oh,
And we will go to Aaron. We're gonna do it in European order. So we'll go for the least European person, which is Aaron. Aaron,
Lannister, Germany.
okay. Sid,
USA.
You better pick
of
America.
course.
Yeah.
I'm picking USA. Well, why didn't you? Why are you putting it on me? No, I'll definitely pick USA.
Your
'cause
meta's
my
going.
SoCal boys are going. And then, I mean, I also think Lannister. Like, I think Nico and his deck really showed that Lanny can do it. Like, I honestly think he just got like a bummer of a top 4 cards. Like, he just didn't see anything he needed, and that happens sometimes. And I watched his games and just watched him wreck. And not just against combo. Like, it's great against combo. It's great against everything. His deck was awesome. So I say SoCal because they're awesome, and then Lannister because Lannister's so good. And that way I hedge my bets. Like, I
Is
think I'm gonna
SoCal
win
bring
one
in
of them.
Lannister?
No, but what it means is like I've got the double, right? I've got the double. I've got the best meta in the world, and I've got the best house in the world. And between those two, I'm gonna win. Because guess what I do well, guys? I pick stuff well. I pick them well, and I got a flight. I got a flight to Southern Illinois to prove it.
I don't know. You came in 3rd in ours.
Sandy,
By 1 point, by a single point.
That's not 1st or 2nd, is it?
Sandy.
No, you're much less European than I am.
But I'm not going to predict. So
Wait, what?
Oh, yes,
yes,
you are.
yes, you are, Alex
Right.
Hines.
but I'm the host. So Sandy.
Yeah, I think it'll be an American that wins Stolic. I've said this for a while that it's going to be probably 3 of the top 4 are going to be Americans. This is despite my European bias in most
So
things.
spicy. I love it.
But,
So what are they? What faction though?
Oh, Targ, because one of those is going to be me, and I'm going to win.
All right, Buzz.
Is Ryan Jones going? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Jones is
Okay.
going. Yeah.
Am I allowed to choose a Swede?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah,
pick
okay.
whatever you want.
So the best odds is Sweden Greyjoy.
Okay.
Ooh.
But if an American wins, it's Ryan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryan's the best American going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone would dispute that. So
I mean, maybe Chris will.
I don't think so. I mean,
No,
like,
no,
I
he
mean,
won't.
saying you're worse than Ryan Jones is not insulting yourself.
I mean, with his 18 card designs.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan,
and
Ryan still needs like just to like I give Chris props because he's done it
Has
in
its
second
house.
edition. Like, well, Ryan hasn't done it in second edition yet. Like, right?
Can I?
He crushed the end of first edition, but I feel like Jones needs that second edition big tournament. This could be it. But
Can I just say-
Chris is like the second edition guy.
SoCal has 3 people with 2 card designs, 2 or more. Like, what the hell?
Wait,
I mean, SoCal has
Three?
the,
Wait.
so
3 with 2 or more?
Doesn't
No.
Chris have 2?
No, he has
No,
one.
no,
one.
Chris has one. He
Oh.
Chris has
yeah,
one,
Bruno
and
has
Bruno
2.
doesn't play Thrones, so
Yeah, Bruno plays Destiny now, but
But he still has
Two
2 designs.
special
You can't
cards.
take
he
that.
still has 2 designs, one of which is in print. We'll see if we ever see the Mad King again. But so
you
my
better
prediction
hope not.
in both of my I'll speak with my heart in both, but they're mutually contradictory because it's Southern California going. So my choice for faction, Night's Watch, will never be played by the Southern California guys. but I'm gonna say Night's Watch is gonna win. But I am gonna say Team USA.
That didn't work at Worlds, Roy,
I
and
know.
it's not gonna work.
But here's the thing: I don't
Zero
give a
in the
shit
top
about
8.
being right in these fantasy things.
God,
But I think
really,
Night's Watch
I really
is my
hope
heart,
Martell wins.
and of course Team USA. So I am all about that. So, but and I think that brings this episode mostly to a close. So programming update: we're gonna try and get a post-Stolic episode done, but my pre-episode discussions with my co-host about trying to organize that proved to be a shit show. So I cannot make any promises. But we will definitely be back at some point after either Stolic or Red Saturday, or hopefully both. And then I'm gonna do again one other public service announcement. The weekend of American Thanksgiving, so the last full weekend in November, is Red Saturday. We've finalized that the new pack will be legal. Sandy has gotten hotel rooms for out-of-town guests. We have a former North American champion. We have the King of the North coming. We have 2 former North American champions, or I guess the reigning North American champion and the former North American champion in the form of Alex Black and Dark Naj coming. We have the Melee Shots for Plots world champion as well, and the Gen Con Melee champion Jesse Carpenter coming. We have the King of the North, Chris Thompson coming. We have Iowa Worlds champion Sandy Barnabas going to be there. We have Red Saturday former champion Aaron Glazer who will be there and playing in the Swiss. So help me God.
And Struhal.
And playing without 6 put to the swords, right?
Without 6 put to the swords this time. Let's see who else is going. That's just prominent winners in the past that are going to be there. I've probably forgotten a few. It'll of course going to have the best karaoke in Thrones.
Although
Okay.
Stolic theoretically is making a play for that this year, so we'll see. I'll be able
That's
to.
a pure theory.
Both Stolic and Red Saturday will be on Jousting Pavilion. Is that correct, Roy?
Well, I don't know about Stolic, but Red Saturday definitely
Stolic will be. Okay, so we can follow along.
What am I going to use?
Excellent.
Tome? I don't even have Tome. I have the old software that they used to use on my laptop. I don't have Tome. Come on.
Maybe Stolic does it by abacus or like carving
Well,
into
they have the Wamba
stone
system,
tablets.
right?
I'm not
I don't
sure.
know.
Okay,
I don't know.
so
Do they raise flags from the towers
okay.
of the castle?
Okay,
I'm
hang
not
on
sure.
here. So you've hyped how pretty much everyone who's going is a former champion or a reigning champion of some sort in North America, right?
Of something.
Of something, yeah. So if America doesn't do well here in Stolic now,
I'm talking about Red
No,
Saturday.
that was Red
I'm talking about
Saturday.
Red Saturday, not
who
Stolic.
the fuck cares about that?
Stolic has, of course, its greatest chance of American.
It's one of the
champions
3
also,
biggest.
You know what, Buzz?
It's one of the 3 biggest non-FFG North American United States
You
tournaments.
telling me this thing that I spend a year working on and promoting and devoting my life to trying to make a success, who fucking cares about it? I think that should be the end of the episode, because that is a wonderfully demoralizing
Because that's
way.
the end of your friendship. It's
should,
over.
You should announce it and talk about it and hype it after Stolic, not
There's
before.
only a
like-
We may not have an episode after Stolic. That's
Of
what I like.
course
That's
we
what our
will.
pre-discussion
Of course
happened.
we will.
So we'll see.
So Red Saturday will be like 2/3 the size of Worlds. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh,
Would
it'll
be
definitely.
That
It's
actually
almost-
is not.
it's
That would be
almost
my
certain
guess,
to be,
actually.
yeah.
It's around
Yeah.
2/3.
Yeah, somewhere to a half. Like
That's
it's
great.
I mean,
safe-
this-
it's
It's
safe
great for
bets
community
half.
tournaments. It's great for. I mean, we're about to hit what 350 for Stolic. Well, what is the cap at Stolic, Buzz?
There is 372 registered for Stolic.
There you go.
Jesus. Yeah, we'll hit 50.
Community
60.
tournaments are the best.
Yeah, we'll hit.
Oh, by
between-
far.
Hopefully, we'll hit between 50 and 60. That's the goal for Red Saturday. So.
Well, we can't fit many more, so you know.
And
That's also the limit.
that's people still fighting over tickets.
Yeah. Oh well, we will too. Like there will be people
Yeah.
like that will get into Red Saturday. It's just that New York City has booking no space.
As I learned, trying to get a new location. But anyway, so Stolic, to all of my friends that are competing, both American and British and European, I wish you all the best of luck. Buzz, there's actually an important question about Stolic before we
Yes.
end. Will there be a stream this year?
Absolutely not, because it's out in the middle of fucking nowhere on a mountain in a castle.
I don't think you guys understand the isolation.
Oh my god.
No, I understand the isolation.
Can't
but I
we
was
get
just
like an uplink? Isn't that like
no,
a thing?
no, there isn't
I-
even 4G. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Last year I was like, okay, This is my
Look.
3rd year trying to stream. I'm going to fucking stream it. I go and buy 2 4G modems and
Yeah, there's no 4G.
put them on a lastbalanserare. What the fuck is English? And just make sure that everything is gonna work over mobile, which is fine to stream over, by the way. But there is no mobile network, so no stream.
Look, all I'm saying is if Obama can get a live feed of killing Bin Laden, then you guys can get a stream from Starlink. That's all I'm saying. They're on the same level of technological.
Freaking satellite.
Yeah, we just need to rent a spy satellite. Not that hard.
Yeah, I mean, we're Americans. Ask Trump.
No,
Yeah,
we need to
it's true.
contact our Russian Thrones players.
Oh,
They'll have
there we
access to
go.
the cheap ones.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, good luck to everyone who competes at Stalik. Come to a tournament no one cares about, also known as Red Saturday, the following weekend. And yeah, I think that's a good moment to end it on. See ya. Are we done?